Good morning, everybody.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller.
Top of the morning to you, Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Trent Valley helping out this morning. Hope you had a great Tuesday. We are halfway through the week. We'll help you get through it together with a pretty good show lined up today. We'll talk a little Steelers, we'll talk a little Longhorns, and we'll talk a little gambling all ahead. Trent Valley in the co-pilot seat. Good morning, Trent.
Good morning, Mark. I'm excited that we're going to talk your favorite NFL team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, for reasons that a lot of our listeners know about. This is going to be hell for you to get through, but you'll get through it, and it'll be fun.
Hell? It's not hell.
I know
why
it's not.
is it hell? Why is it hell for? Why are you coming at me so negatively? I mean, there's all kinds of snark and sarcasm. My favorite team. This will be hell for you to get through, Trent. There are 32 teams in this league. I think of them all the same. The only reason I have any affinity towards Pittsburgh is every year my season tickets for that team generally pay for one flight for my wife home. Other than that, I've liked the Steelers since I was 6 years old. You have to remember, I grew up in an era where there weren't very many good teams. And I wasn't rooting for anybody in the Lions division, even though the Lions were god-awful. So it left you with the Steelers, the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Redskins. And then the Niners later on. And I did like the Niners, but I liked the Steelers as a kid. I liked Bradshaw more than Staubach. My buddy, which makes perfect sense now, my buddy who liked Staubach turned out to be a cop. Staubach, the great veteran of our country, Navy man, and TC liked Roger Staubach, the clean cut guy. I liked the guy with the long hair. I liked the guy that might get in trouble once in a while. So I've been a Steeler fan since I was a little kid, watching Lynn Swann and Stallworth in that defense. But I've said this for as long as I've done a show. I don't really have an NFL team. I guess the closest one I would have would maybe be the Steelers. It would be right there with the Bucks and the Lions. I think of all of them the same, but I like greatness. I'm the one guy that enjoyed the Patriots dynasty that wasn't from Boston. And I don't particularly love Boston fans, but they were great. They were fun to watch. I liked watching Mahomes at their best. I want to see if Buffalo can be at their best. When I look at this year, where's greatness? Everybody's predicting that it's the Los Angeles Rams. We went through it a couple of weeks ago of the 10 best odds teams, or I think there was more than that. I think it was more than that. I think it was in the teens, but only two of them ever won the last game. So can a team with all the pressure on them, like the Los Angeles Rams, win it all? But a lot of snark and a lot of nastiness out of you in that seat at 6:02 in the morning. Did you not get your Wheaties this morning, Trent?
Well, it's not supposed to be nastiness. It's mostly just, yes, it's snark. It's just for fun. And we understand that, the Pittsburgh Steelers are on in your household pretty much most Sundays, or whenever they're on in prime time, you have to pay attention. But if there were a team to give you snark about, it would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
I understand. I know that.
So now you're not just picking on me, you're picking on my wife.
I'm not picking on your wife.
I mean, do you want a bigger shovel? You're off to a hell of a start, Trent. First off, the team Mark doesn't want to talk about, and then the team he's got to watch.
I didn't say you didn't want to talk about them.
Like I dislike watching football, for crying out loud.
No,
I mean,
Trent,
I feel badly for someone like you who has to watch the Lions and actually think something good is going to come of it. You watch Michigan State actually thinking they can go to a bowl game this year. I worry about people that can do that try being a Browns fan. I mean, there is a lot of teams that you could say are hard to root for. I don't know about one that's got 6 Super Bowl rings, and that's a tough one to root for. I don't know. I mean, what's next? I'm going to pick the Canadians in hockey, for crying out loud. Maybe I'll be a Yankee fan. So I don't think that that's a tough place to root, but sure, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Boy, just coming right out of the gate, swinging with both fists this morning. Like Deadstroke says, be a Dolphins fan. The season hasn't begun, and all of the prediction models out there have one team with the first overall pick. It's the Miami Dolphins. That's where it is. So that's the tough team to root. There are much tougher teams to root for. But I do want to talk about what happened yesterday. And do people give the Big Ten credit, or did they read the tea leaves and play this perfectly? Because it was late Monday night in which the SEC issued a statement that they were very angry about players coming back from the NFL, and they really didn't like that it was blurring the line between college athletics and professional athletics. Now, damn it, in the SEC, we know what that line is. It's a brown paper bag with cash in it. When we start doing this legally, we're blurring lines, and guys are coming back. And if we don't get Congress to do something, then it's not going to work. And the Big Ten saw all this and said, you know what? Can't play in our league. Can't play in our league. We are not allowing it. Then the SEC issued their own proclamation that agrees with what the Big Ten is. And now these fifth-year players, this hole that they have dug themselves by the NCAA granting 5 years of eligibility and trying to push it through, but not allowing the 2022 class. The basketball players sued and won. The football players that were in camp have sued and got an injunction. And the Big Ten just said no. I applaud the Big Ten, whether it's reading the tea leaves from how the world acted yesterday, and they got the benefit of the SEC sending out their information first, but not doing anything about it, just saying they were mad and we need to pass the SCORE Act, when you know that they're not even going to vote on that sucker for another, month and a half until they're all back in session. Then it's got to get through the House. So the SEC just looked like they were passing the buck to me. We're mad, but this is not our job to litigate this sport. Okay, maybe you're right. And maybe these players can all sue someone to get in. But I applaud the Big Ten for at least reading the room and saying, yeah, no one likes this. We're not going to allow them. We're going to win this one until we're told differently.
I'm exactly with you that the Big Ten took the right approach by getting out in front of this, because the SEC, they had to say something. They did, because it is the elephant in the room, and I'm not talking about Alabama. But you have got to address that situation with pros coming back to your league. I'm glad the Big Ten kind of was, I don't want to say proactive, because I feel like that gives them almost too much credit. But I think it's easy to say something. It's easy to release a statement. And at least the Big Ten did that.
Well, the Big Ten did more than release a statement. The SEC released a statement and said that we're mad and they can't play. They can still play. The Big Ten said they can't play in our league. Now, you could look at it and say, should they have jumped on this when the SEC did and said it initially? But they didn't. Monday night, the SEC came out with their statement from the chancellors and presidents that they were very angry, but they really weren't going to do anything about it. The Big Ten read the room, and yesterday, most everybody felt, even though these guys are getting 5 years, most everybody felt that there were a lot of reasons why this wasn't good. Whether it was whoever gets kicked off the roster to make room for these players, the fact that they did indeed sign a professional contract, but that hasn't stopped basketball players now with playing in the G League. These guys never played games. At the end of the day, even if they played in a preseason game, they did not play in an official NFL game. They're not in the if you go to profootballreference.com, they're not going to show up with stats. So
But signing with a team, you're exactly right. That's the crux of the matter. And the NBA kind of started that whole thing.
Well, I mean, the NBA didn't start it. This isn't this. You got to me, Trenton. You may think differently, but this is not an NBA or an NFL problem. Their job is to put the best players on their team to try to win games and put butts in seats. Their job is not to look at the NCAA and say, well, this is best for college football. This is best for college basketball. I don't think the NBA did anything. What happened was players signed NBA contracts, ended up playing in the G League, and players then fought for their eligibility to go back to college, and college basketball let them. Now, football has decided we're not going to let you, at least the Big Ten and the SEC. The ACC and Big 12, I would imagine, will follow suit. But, okay, if they do and the G6 kids don't, the G6 teams don't. I mean, one of those G6 teams is going to the playoff. If Texas San Antonio wants to sign Daquan White, the kid that was going to play at LSU, and try to make him a tight end, does that give them a better shot at the playoff? And what's the money for that? So this still is not a universal decision. This was the Big Ten seeing that the SEC, to me, seeing that the SEC left them an opening. This was this wasn't a huge hole in the gap that's going to go for 30 yards, but this is going to get you a quick first down. And the Big Ten took it. And it made the SEC look bad in doing so. The SEC then followed suit. What will the ACC and Big 12 do? We'll see. As of this morning, at least, if something happens, I haven't seen what those two conferences have said yet. But the two big boys do differently. Now, will judges demand that they can play in those leagues? I don't know. Lane Kiffin thinks that we're all hypocrites and thinks that they should be signed, that if he didn't sign them, someone else was gonna. He's probably right. But I don't know if the Big Ten was out in front of anything. I think the Big Ten read the room. I think the Big Ten looked at the SEC and said, ooh, this didn't work. They look soft. Here's an opportunity. And the Big Ten took advantage of it. I think however they got to this decision, I agree with their decision. I don't know if ultimately it will work, but I do think that they had the ability to react off of how the public felt about what the SEC said, because they were the first ones to come out, and what they said was they were angry.
They did, and the SEC might never admit this, but behind closed doors, what the Big Ten did, the SEC completely agrees with, and I think that because the two big boys had the courage to do what they did, Mark, you don't have to love it, but it's part of where the sport's going. It has to be said, has to be out there, has to be on record. The Big Ten and the SEC, I commend them for at least taking, I don't want to say taking action, but taking the stance they have. Because now you've got the Big 12 and the ACC who might stand up and try to get an advantage or a leg up where they can. I don't agree with that.
Miller and Moulton, great show lined up for you today. Will Graves will talk some Steelers, David Bearman to talk some gambling, and Geoff Ketchum to talk about the Longhorns. Miller and Moulton.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. Capecops.com. Be brave, be best. Be Cape.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofing.com. PellecinRoofingCompany.com. CCC
The
1332512.
Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real. If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller and Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X, or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller and Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest. Now try the best. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
It is the longest off season, Brian. It's not even close. Just in terms of sheer days, it's the longest. Although they're trying to shorten that because they keep sticking the damn national championship game further and further away. But
Yeah, DC Dolly, that one hit hard. Somebody you thought was going to live forever.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Thanks for joining us Wednesday morning. Will Grave to talk some Steelers in the 8 o'clock hour. David Bearman to talk some gambling in the 8 o'clock hour. And then very late in the show, trying to sneak in guests when we can, we will talk with Geoff Ketchum, who is the editor of orangebloods.com. They cover Texas sports as well as anyone. We'll see how bullish he is on the Longhorns and a national title. A lot of expectations for that team. I think the most pressure of any team in college football this year. Last night, the Rays take one on the chin at the hands of the Tigers, but the Yankees lose as well. So the Rays don't allow New York to gain any ground on them in the division. And that's good news for the Rays as they're trying to figure out a way to get this horse in the barn after beating Detroit in game one, losing last night. It is weird. I saw a stat 2 nights ago. They lead Major League Baseball in batting average in their 24th in runs. To tell you why analytics are what they are, that used to be, or we thought it was an indicator of teams that were as productive as anybody. And here the Rays are, who by batting average are spectacular, but by runs are not. And it just shows how important the home run is in today's game. And last night, the Rays bats never got going. Joe pitched well for the Tigers, and Detroit gets a win to snap their long losing streak and act like they're still in the wild card race. The races are absolutely insane. I mean, it changes. The wild card race changes so much on a nightly basis. It's crazy. I mean, the Rays still up 3.5 on the Yanks. The White Sox are now only up 2.5 on the Guardians, who have been playing much better baseball. Cleveland's won 8 of 10 and 6 in a row. The Astros, with their win coupled with the Rangers' loss, they're back to a half game in front. The Seattle Mariners are 5 games below 500. They're still only 2.5 back in the division. Just to tell you how mediocre the West and the wild card is in the American League. Braves have now pushed their lead to 4.5 over the Phillies. The Cubs 5.5 back of the Brewers, and the Dodgers obviously have an arm bar on everybody in the West. As far as the wild card goes, Guardians have the last spot. They are a game over 500. We have 5 teams over 500 in the American League. The Astros would be a 6th. They're right at 500, leading the West. The Rangers, a half game back of the Astros, but only a game back of the Guardians. The Orioles are 2.5 back. The Mariners, Twins, Blue Jays, all 3. And the Tigers are pretty much out of it now at 4.5. National League, that's a little more defined. The Marlins, they still, I think, can have a run in them, but they've lost 2 in a row. They're now 4 back. The Padres are up a game on the Diamondbacks. The Cardinals are 5 back. The Pirates are 6.5. I don't see a lot of hope for these teams, but certainly New York looking to try to close in on the division, and they take any news about their star very seriously. And it looks as if Aaron Judge now is not just playing catch. He's going to be able to hit from live pitching and batting practice, in the cages, inside. But that's the next step. Here we are, August 26th. He is nowhere close to getting back on the field. I mean, I would think if everything goes well, you're talking 2 weeks. So you're talking second week, late in the, second week of September. That gives him 3 weeks to get ready for the playoffs. And that's all that matters. I think the division's obtainable. I've said I believe Tampa's going to win, but now that it's 3.5 and they have 4 left against Tampa Bay, it's by no means a foregone conclusion. But I just don't see a double funk, if you will, by the Rays. They've had a little one here. I think it's a big one for them to win today against Detroit and get 2 or 3 from a team that's reeling. But I do think Tampa's in pretty good shape. The Yankees, tough one last night because they scored runs and lost. I mean, usually when the Yankees don't win, it's lack of bats. But last night they had the production and didn't get the pitching. So Judge is back, or coming back, I should say. We'll see what that means. The Yankees now are, they're only a game and a half clear again of the Sox. So they're closer to Boston than they are to Tampa. And it would take a modern miracle for New York and I guess for the 2 and 3 in the East to not meet in the first round of the wild card. I mean, there is a lot at stake there. A best of 3 versus getting through the first round. That's the difference in that division. So the Yankees, Red Sox, and Rays all still a lot to play for. The Rays obviously in the driver's seat up 3.5, but losing last night. And fortunately for them, not losing any ground. So that's really the division we focus more on because the other 3 divisions appear to be settled. The wild card's down to 2 teams. It's San Diego and Arizona in the National League. How many of you care about those 2 teams? And the American League, still a wild ride ahead, but no one's that good to get excited about. 2 good weeks could give you the wild card in the American League.
Well, and everybody talks about the juxtaposition this particular season between the National League and American League. And Mark, I want to ask you, which American League team that's currently leading their division? You got the Rays that are 3.5 up on the Yankees. You've got the White Sox that are 2.5 up on the Guardians. And the Astros only a half game up on the Rangers, but they're 500 right now. Which team do you think should be most concerned about someone chasing them down and potentially sticking it to them with a World Series?
Well, obviously it's the Astros division because if you don't win that division, you might not make the playoffs. Right. So if there's a division to be worried about, it's obviously that one. Do I think that the Indians? Wow, I haven't done that in a long time. The Guardians can come back and take out the White Sox. I mean, they have 3 left with them. They're at home. Their schedule is not daunting, that being Cleveland's. And really, how can a schedule be daunting in the American League right now unless you're Tampa, New York, or Boston, and you're playing those 2 teams? Because there's nothing really to be fearful of the rest of the American League. So, can Cleveland catch the Chicago White Sox? Of course they can. Can the Rays catch Tampa? Yeah, they can. But the one I would be worried about, the Astros, I mean, they just got done. They're so upset they fired their GM in mid-August. So it's a rudderless ship. The owner said, I'm taking over. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Obviously, there's not any moves that the general manager is going to be making here at this point of the season that to me is going to win or lose a pennant. Which guy we call up because some guy got hurt. But I just don't know how well that message will go over with the Astros. It could work. It could work really well. It could put nerves on players now because there's someone else coming in if they're up on a contract year of what happens to them. Same thing with coaches. So it's peculiar in Houston. I think that's the one because I do think the Astros, with the talent on that team, they scare the bejibbers out of anybody come playoff time. They can hit the baseball. So if you're talking about a wild card round and taking somebody out in 2 games, they can do it. I guess the good news for Yankees, Red Sox, Rays, they're going to play one another. So one team's going to knock out a good team, and you're going to end up in a best of 5 with one of these teams that are considered lower tier out of Chicago, whoever wins the West. And right now, Cleveland has that wild card. So, but worst, a month of baseball, it's anybody's guess who gets this wild card. I mean, we could end up with the Baltimore Orioles playing and 4 teams out of the East making the postseason. So I wouldn't put anything past any of these teams because no one's proven that they have the ability to put together. The Red Sox not only put together, think about what Boston did. They put together that winning streak, lost a couple games, racked off another pretty good streak. And then they had their moment of lull, but they've picked themselves up out of that. I mean, they're now 14 games over 500. They were buried and dead. And not only did they win and get a streak going, because a lot of teams did. The Twins did. Detroit did. I mean, Houston had a hell of a run to get where they are, but they couldn't keep it up.
Yeah, I was
Boston's
just
the
gonna
only
say
team
to be 14 above 500 and still 5 back in the division. That speaks to how great that AL East is this year. And a year where the American League at large is pathetic. Let's be honest, Mark.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know if I'd be apprehensive to call it great. It's certainly the best in the American League. I mean, because if you play it out of where the Rays are, what they've played 132 games, so they've got 30 left. I mean, they got to win. They got to go 20-10 to win 98 games, and that ain't going to happen. So this division or this league not having a great year. Starting five next.
The Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Buying or selling a home? Put a local expert to work for you. I'm Mark Miller with McWilliams Buckley, and I believe real estate is about more than transactions. It's about helping people make the right move, from pricing your home to negotiating the best deal. I'll be with you every step of the way. Call or text me today, 239-425-5582. That's 239-425-5582. Experience, local knowledge, and a personal difference. That's what I'll bring to the table.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Paul, I thought you'd love the one with Kermit the Frog. That was the one I saw that I thought was cute. A Dolly and Kermit duet. Although the one I saw that was the best was her covering a Neil Young song on Letterman with Linda Ronstadt and Emmylou Harris singing backup. That was pretty amazing. Is that green heart for Kermit, Paula?
Gotta be.
Think of all time, mine would be Patsy, Paula. I love that voice.
Waylon Jennings.
I was strictly going female, but yes, I'm a big Waylon fan.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Good show lined up for you today. We'll talk some Steelers with Will Graves, former Southwest Floridian. Will worked down here for a while, now working for the AP up in Pittsburgh. He'll join us at 8 o'clock. David Bearman will join us at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour to talk some gambling. And then Geoff Ketchum from orangebloods.com. Probably, I might even take the probably out. The place to go if you're following Texas Longhorn football. He is the editor of youngbloods.com. He will join us at 9:21. That's when he could fit us in, so that's when we will take him. Right now, it's time for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is the Starting Five.
And we start with baseball. Max Clark hit his second career home run, and Detroit ended a 6-game losing streak, defeating Tampa 4-1. Baez and Lee each had RBI singles for Detroit, as Jackson Jobe gave up 1 run on 4 hits and 3 walks in a whopping 4 1/3 innings, as he's coming back from a long injury rehab over a year. Kenley Jansen got the last 3 outs. That's his 17th save. If he had a few more, Detroit might be a playoff team, but he's blown a ton of saves this year. Boston in 11 takes down Miami 7-3. Jalen Duren had the grand slam and extras as the Red Sox take the first 2 of this series. Mickey Gasper homered twice for the Red Sox. They've won 5 straight. Gasper was waived by the Nats, demoted by the Sox in June. He was waived in January. The Sox demoted him to the minors in late June. He's now has 5 homers in his past 8 games. Prior to that, he had 0 home runs and 107 at-bats in the majors this season. Colorado, a 3-1 win over Washington. Hunter Goodman homered in his return from the IL, and the Rockies snap a 7-game losing streak against the Nats. Houston, behind Yainer Diaz's 2 home runs, and Yordan Alvarez, who's still leading the Triple Crown, hit a tie-breaking RBI triple with 2 outs in the 8th, and the Astros outlast the Yanks 9-7. It is just the 6th win in the last 15 games for Houston. The White Sox, 11-7 over Texas. Tristan Peters delivers a 2-run double during a 6th-run first inning. He homered for the 4th straight game as the White Sox win by 4. Chicago evened the series rather, with Texas after losing the first one. Kansas City, a 5-3 win over Toronto. Salvador Perez knocked in the go-ahead run with the 5th inning single, and the Royals defeated the Jays. It's the 9th straight win for Kansas City. 9 in a row. Scherzer gets the loss for Toronto. He's 1-7 on the season. The Mets in 10 defeat Milwaukee 3-2. Francisco Lindor had a home run, and then he would score the winning run in the 10th as the Mets win the opener of the 3-game series. Atlanta in a good one last night, 4-3 over the Dodgers. Ozzie Albies hit a go-ahead RBI single in the 8th. Raziel Iglesias pitched around a leadoff triple in the 9th, and the Braves able to get out of it 4-3 over the Dodgers. Ohtani had the triple to lead off the 9th, but they were able to get Freddie Freeman to strike out, Mookie Betts to ground out, and then they walked Muncy and were able to get Tommy Edman to fly out. It was Iglesias' 28th save in 31 tries. Baltimore pounded the Cardinals 13-1. Pete Alonso, 4 for 4, and a 3-home run night. Christian Encarnacion-Strand also homered and drove in 3. With the big night for Alonso, he's within 1 of Alvarez in the Triple Crown race, at least in the RBI column. Pay attention to that. Jose Ramirez had 3 doubles, drives in 5, and he had a 2-run double in the 10th inning as the Guardians topped the Angels 8-6. Stephen Kwan was 5 for 5 with a walk, an RBI, and 3 runs. The Athletics 4-2 over the Twinkies. Carlos Cortez hit a 2-run homer. Gage Jump pitched into the 7th as they get it done in Sacramento. Seattle with another Cal Raleigh home run and 7 2/3 of good pitching from George Kirby. They take down Philadelphia 4-1. Munoz worked the 9th for the Mariners for his 24th save of the season. Arizona 5-4 over the Cubs. Pitch hitter Ryan Waldschmidt hit a 2-run walk-off home run with 2 outs in the 9th as the Diamondbacks overcome a 4-run deficit to defeat the Cubs. The Diamondbacks have 40 comeback victories this season, tied with the Cubs for most in the majors. Prior to that, the Cubs had scored 30 consecutive runs and had thrown 23 scoreless innings in a row before falling behind Seattle 2-0 in the second. Pittsburgh 1-0 over San Diego. Old school baseball. O'Neal Cruz lined a 2-out solo home run in the top of the 9th. That was the difference. Cruz hitting the home run off of Mason Miller. It was the first home run allowed by Miller since August of last year.
Maybe the worst runners in scoring position game that I've ever watched in baseball. And I did watch for at least, I probably watched for an inning and a half. But Pittsburgh went 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position. San Diego 1 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Not good.
Skeens, 3 hits in 6 innings. Didn't walk any, struck out 4. San Diego's Michael King went 7 innings, 5 hits and 2 walks. San Francisco, a 3-1 win over Cincinnati. Rafael Devers hit a home run. And another starter for San Diego gets pulled, or for San Francisco gets pulled early. They lost their starter 2 nights ago in the first, and they lose their starter in the third last night and did it with relief pitching. That's because the Cincinnati Reds are bad. Speaking of Cincinnati, let's go to the NFL. They breathe a sigh of relief because Jamar Chase says he's fine after suffering a left knee injury that cut his practice short on Tuesday. He was trying to haul in a pass when the injury occurred. After an anxious couple of moments, he got back on his feet, limped off under his own power, was evaluated by the trainer, and watched the rest of practice. But word out of Cincinnati is that he is fine. New England and their star cornerback, Christian Gonzalez, a little upset that he doesn't have a new contract. He says it's frustrating, but I'm focused on the season. I'm focused on here now. He wants to get a new deal done with the Patriots, but they have not yet reached an agreement. Bad news for Seattle. We knew yesterday, it became official after the show. Bud Clark placed on the injured reserve. He will miss the season, as will offensive lineman Mason Richmond. Clark was a second-round pick in the draft, broke his ankle in the preseason game on Sunday night in Nashville. Well, the Big Ten passed a rule that stops players from returning from the NFL for playing for one of its schools. Any player who is declared for the NFL draft and did not withdraw, appeared on an NFL roster, or signed a contract with the pro league cannot be on a Big Ten roster, the league announced yesterday. And following suit, the SEC voting 16-0 to do the same thing. Not only will they not allow NFL players who sign contract, but they won't allow them if they sign in the NBA or WNBA. Take that, Big Ten. See, we can do it too. What else we got? That's really, I have to be honest with you. That's about it. I mean, this really isn't a starting five. It's more of a starting three. We've got our front court, and that's about it. 12 minutes before the hour. That is the starting five. 3 big stories you needed to know, and then some conferences barking.
Well, so let me ask you, Mark, how much do you, here on Miller and Moulton, my apologies for cutting you off there, but how much stock do you put into maybe the SEC not beating the Big Ten to the punch when it comes
I don't put any stock in any of this. I'm surprised that the SEC didn't come out full guns blazing. I don't think they wanted to make Lane look that bad, even though I don't know how many of the presidents and chancellors. I mean, I don't think the old Miss president or chancellor likes Lane all that much. I'm guessing the guy in Tennessee doesn't think that highly of him either. I'm sure the guy in Florida has been told we're not supposed to like him either. We didn't get him. But I don't think they wanted to throw one of their own under the bus completely. So they pulled the cop-out move and said, we don't like this. You need to pass the SCORE Act. Well, then by the next day, everybody in the public that does what we do for a living or that writes a column is saying how the hypocrisy is so great. How are we allowing these guys to come back from the pros? And the Big Ten read the tea leaves. They said, ooh, let's come out and we're not letting them in. And the SEC says, not only are we not letting NFL guys in, we're not letting NBA guys in or WNBA girls for now. So what really matters here is, look at the NCAA has lost always when it comes to these cases going to court. Will any of these players, will LSU pay for a lawyer to sue the conference? I don't think they will, but I wouldn't be surprised, because now, while the NCAA doesn't really have any power, and I don't know at the end of the day how much the conferences have. I don't know if this is something that a player can go after a conference. And again, we all know who's paying for these lawyers. It sure as hell ain't a kid who's playing college ball. It's the university, it's a booster, it's someone trying to find a judge that will sympathize with what they want.
Yeah.
And we've yet to see an athlete go after a conference. So this does affect, Alabama had the kid from the G League last year. Florida's got a guy that played in the G League. So this does affect some players going forward. I want to see how that will be handled of players that are already on rosters that did play and what they're going to do there. But I for the first time ever, or first time in a long time at least, it seems that both the Big Ten and then the SEC, and following suit late yesterday, have actually listened to what their fans want. They've not just done what the coaches are asking and what the big boosters are asking. because it's always been win at all costs, damn with the rules. So will the players and the lawyers and the boosters be happy to have this rule implemented, or is someone going to challenge it? Because I have to be honest with you, if they challenge this and challenge the conferences, I think they win.
Yeah, I think this is so black and white and simple to me. If you declare for the NFL draft and you go and you play a preseason game and you work out in camp and you do what you got to do with an NFL team, you cannot come back to college football. It's that simple to me. Am I crazy, Mark?
Well, yes, I agree with you, but we've already seen it in basketball. So precedent's been set. See, when you get in front of a judge, you can tell me what you think common sense is. But we have precedent where we've allowed this. We also allowed basketball players to get a fifth year, but we're not going to allow some of the fifth year, the football players. See, they have backed themselves into a corner where they have all sides of this. Do I like the rule of guys coming back? Hell no. And the part of this, Bud said it pretty well yesterday, in which he talked about did the SEC, did these conferences think that this SCORE Act was going to get done when they said the 5 for 5? Because they allowed everybody 5 years, but they didn't grandfather in that 2022 freshman class. They thought they could play both sides and get away with it. Well, they didn't get the help out of the Senate that they thought they were going to get, because they passed it off to the fall session. So
Right.
I do think that, again, are they going to go to a judge and get something? What is the Big 12 and the ACC going to do? To me, right now, I'll be fascinated by what the Big 12 does, because Campbell there, the guy that's given all the money to Texas Tech, he's the one that wants this SCORE Act passed, but he's trying to do everything possible that really goes on the other side of it, saying, look, if you're not going to do this, then we're going to run roughshod across any of your rules.
I know, it's really how much are you going to keep your mouth shut, and that's where the SEC, I think, I don't want to say shoots itself in the foot, but the SEC, I think, has proven over time that it will do, and the Big Ten as well, they will do whatever it takes to win. So when you're talking about loopholes or unwritten rules or rules that aren't quite, written as boldly as others, I think the SEC comes to the forefront.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're all just as guilty. I don't think they're there to win. They stick up for their own. They're not willing to have rules that apply to everybody. Every conference leader is into their own conference first.
If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller & Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X, or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller & Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest, now try the best. Miller & Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to CapeCops.com. CapeCops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
The
sound.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Buying or selling a home? Put a local expert to work for you. I'm Mark Miller with McWilliams Buckley, and I believe real estate is about more than transactions. It's about helping people make the right move, from pricing your home to negotiating the best deal. I'll be with you every step of the way. Call or text me today, 239-425-5582. That's 239-425-5582. Experience, local knowledge, and a personal difference. That's what I'll bring to the table.
This is Miller and Moulton.
So I think they'd both do it, but I think the SEC is more likely to turn a blind eye to a loophole or a rule.
You mean a loophole? You mean a loophole like when a team is blatantly caught cheating and they still allow them to play?
You know how I feel about that. So
Well, I mean, that's the Big Ten.
I know. I'm
Okay,
well aware.
I think you live in Big Ten country, and Big Ten people don't like the SEC, and Big Ten people think that their conference is better than the SEC because they have some rule standard that I think is largely hypocritical.
Okay. Well, I would argue that when I live in Big Ten country and when I tell you these things, not you particularly, but the audience tells me that I'm a homer and that I defend the Big Ten too much. So if we want to go there, I can, because I've got plenty of ammunition on Michigan. But it's not.
It's not a Michigan argument, Trent. You're see. This is you get to. I got plenty of ammo on Michigan. Well, this isn't about Michigan. This is about fifth-year players. This has nothing to do with Michigan.
That's what I'm saying, Mark.
The point that was made is that the Big Ten, they do it right. The SEC doesn't. The Big Ten looked the other way when Michigan cheated. They all look the other way. They are into their conference first. They are not going to turn their own in. Their job is to protect the members of their conference.
And all I said was I think the SEC is more likely to do that than the Big Ten. Even though the Big Ten did it, and I get it, but in the past, I think the SEC has turned a blind eye much more than the Big Ten has.
Give me an example.
Jameis Winston.
Jameis
10 years
Winston.
ago. Yeah, the
Jameis
whole
Winston
crab
played it. He played at Florida State. They're in the ACC, Trent. You got the wrong conference, bud. You just picked a guy from the ACC. Sorry. And because he got a free meal at Publix, that's the same as stealing signs? I mean,
No.
Come on now.
Of course it's not. I just think I could go down the laundry list of Georgia players, Alabama players that have gotten off the hook for things that are not. I'm not going to say they wouldn't get off the hook for those in the Big Ten, but I don't think there'd be as many. And I wholeheartedly believe that.
I'm curious of the Alabama players that got off the hook. A lot of the Georgia players, many of those were after they were done with school. But you're shouting out teams. I want to challenge you when you say that.
Well, let's start with Georgia then.
Well, I want to move on and talk about something else. I'm not going to dig down on 10 years of conference history, Trent. Okay? You're getting pissed off because you don't like the fact that I don't think that you're right. And so now you want to go back and talk about what? Georgia's players speeding versus allowing a fifth-year guy? What does one have to do with the other?
Conference integrity. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, conference integrity. All right, here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Thanks for joining us, Trent Valley. Sitting in the co-pilot seat this morning. I'm Mark Miller. Pelican Roofing of Florida text line is open. 21,000 is the number. 21,000-21,000. If you want to join in on the fun, if you've never texted the show before, the keyword is Miller. Text Miller to 21,000 and then let it rip with anything that you may want to talk about. We will get into the Pittsburgh Steelers an hour from now. We'll talk some gambling with David Bearman coming up at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour, and Geoff Ketchum from youngbloods.com to preview the Texas Longhorns. Tomorrow on the show, we'll do a little Georgia preview as well as some college football. Excited. Brooks Austin on the show. Very smart guy. Does a lot of film work. He does some Georgia stuff, but he covers the sport nationally. Very good at what he does. Looking forward to getting him on the show. And we'll see where maybe some Kansas City, because we've kind of run out of teams that we can cover in the time zones that make it worthwhile. We've done the AFC South. We've done the AFC East. We're finishing the AFC North today. We started with the NFC South. We did the NFC East and the NFC North as well as far as previews go. One of the things we didn't even mention this morning, and I know a lot of you in the chat room have talked about it, and I think probably a few texters have mentioned it, and I haven't, and it's just we got off to some other things sports-wise. But yesterday we lost Dolly Parton at the age of 80, obviously an American icon. And don't want to say a weird career, but the longevity of her career and her popularity getting bigger as she got older is not the normal way something like this runs. Typically, as you get older, you get less popular. People are not as, whether it's into your music or what you do. And I think with every year that passed, she became a bigger star. She went from being a country artist to, she did movies. I don't know if she was ever a movie star. 9 to 5 was a big movie, but it's tough to call Dolly Parton a movie star. And then she had Dollywood, and then she obviously, with the money she gave to different charitable causes and things that she did are amazing. But it is a unusual career path, in that I think her best song, Jolene, was what? That's like, is it in the 60s or early 70s?
I want to say 73. I could be completely off on that, but I think what you're trying to say, Mark, is someone who's universally accepted. I mean, how far have we come as a country or as a nation or as a society where somebody is just universally liked? Everyone likes her. Who has a bad thing to say about Dolly Parton? Not many people.
No one does. And I would say, I would push back a little bit, Trent. It's the opposite of what I think society is now, which makes it all that more remarkable that in today's world where two people can't agree on what color the wall is, they can all say they like Dolly Parton. So, obviously a tremendous career. It's funny, I just turned 57. And so when I was a teenager or a preteen, and I don't remember the exact year that the movie 9 to 5 came out, that was probably, I don't want to say the first time I had seen her, because my parents didn't really have rules for me, and I watched a lot of late night television. So I remember seeing Dolly Parton on Carson and things like that. And obviously we all remembered her because, she was built differently than most women. And that was the first thing we remember. And then 9 to 5 was a pretty big hit. And Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, and Dolly Parton's like the third there. And she, by all accounts, stole that movie in a lot of ways. And it was a great, I don't know if you want to call it I don't know if it really fits. It's just a comedy. It's not even really a rom-com because there's no romance in it. but it was just a cute comedy. But it was one of those movies that I think if you're of a certain age, and we're the latchkey kid generation where we spent summers at home, and in my house we had HBO. So all of those movies, like the Chevy Chase movies with Goldie Hawn, Seems Like Old Times, and that, those genre of silly either rom-coms or comedies, those were the ones that HBO showed at 10 o'clock. They had to show PG movies. They couldn't show an R-rated film until 8 o'clock at night. So all of these PG movies, and this is even pre-PG-13, were on constantly. And I have to think, if I were to put a number on the number of times that I've seen the movie 9 to 5, it would be easily in the 20s, at least part of it. It might be higher than closer to 50, but certainly Dolly Parton, as I mentioned, Jolene, my favorite song that she does. It still sounds great today. And obviously at 80 years old, she lived a full life. She was hit with some illnesses and still kind of trudged through the past few years. But yesterday we received the announcement that Dolly Parton died at the age of 80, a life well lived, great things done by her, and certainly all of the accolades that are being thrown her way, whether it was our president, whether it was Paul McCartney, and every damn person in between, they are all well deserved for her. So I did want to mention that as we move forward in the sports world. The biggest story today, at least in my opinion, is the Big Ten and the SEC now finally saying that people who sign pro contracts, well, at least in the NFL, you can't sign in the NFL and play in the Big Ten. We'll see what they do basketball-wise if they now follow the SEC, because the SEC, to me, looked as if they had a little egg on their face. They came out with their announcement on Monday, and we don't like it. We think that this blurs the line, but they didn't do anything. They basically said, pass the SCORE Act at the bottom of their statement. Well, they had a meeting yesterday. This was not really expected to be in the meeting. They moved it to the front of the meeting. And not only did they not allow NFL players who signed, they have made that rule for NBA and WA players. So I would imagine, I'll be curious if the other two Power 4 conferences follow suit today. I think they will.
They should.
Should they? Okay. Here, look it. I know you are set on this college. You are set that you sign a contract you can't play. You are. It's black and white. There is never any gray in your world, Trent, with things like this. I mean, you have the moral high ground that I am impressed with at someone of your age. I don't get into morality. Like, everybody wants to yell about Jed York. He picked up a hooker. I don't care. I mean, I think he's an idiot because he used his phone and pinged her 3 times and was going to a trailer park to get laid. I have more problems with how he went about it than what he did. The act doesn't bother me in the least bit. Maybe that makes me a bad person. But I'm not as black and white with this because, see, the NCAA loses every time. Every time they go to court, they lose. So if you're the Big 12, if you're Texas Tech, who now got Castellano or whatever his name is, Tommy, they're the quarterback that played at FSU and BC, and he's getting another year, so Texas Tech wants him. Texas Tech is, I think, as likely to go to the playoff as any team in college football. They play at a mediocre conference that doesn't have a lot this year. Could BYU get them? Certainly. But I think Texas Tech has as good of a shot to go to the playoff. If you're Texas Tech, Trent, and if you're the Big 12 and you think we got a shot not only to get into the playoff, but maybe do some damage, why wouldn't you allow your teams to have the best shot?
So you would, Mark, but again, this is where you make fun of me for it, but I'm serious. It's morality. It's working within the confines of what is acceptable in college football. And if the two biggest monsters in college football, that being the SEC and Big Ten, aren't allowing this anymore as of yesterday, then I would look at myself as the ACC or the Big 12, and I would follow suit. I just would. And find ways to get a leg up elsewhere, because we know that can happen.
Well, they don't have the money. That's the leg you need, is the money. The most important thing to building a college football team right now is cash. It is. There's no second. I mean, yeah, you have to have a great coach. Yeah, you have to have great facilities, but you need money. LSU, Texas, Ohio State, they're spending $50 million on a roster.
Right.
The Big 12 and the ACC don't have that kind of money. They just don't. Notre Dame's spending a boatload on theirs too. So if I were to argue with you, Mr. Commissioner of the Big 12, and say, well, I've got judges here that say that these kids should play. This really isn't, you keep going to, there's morality on certain things. This isn't a moral issue. There's no morality of whether we let a kid play or not. It's not a moral. It's not like this kid kicked a dog. This kid wants to play college football for another year. And we have no real rules anymore as to how long you can play. So I'm talking to you as the commissioner of the Big 12, and you're telling me you're going to file a suit. I'm going, do you really want to? Because maybe Texas Tech can get a few more kids and they can win a natty. What would that do for our conference?
Okay, well, my only pushback on that is that because the Big Ten and SEC are already united in this, and it's less than 24 hours old, that's what's going to that's going to become the precedent. It just is. So you might as well jump out in front of it and not try to dance around the whole thing and the rule that the Big Ten and the SEC are kind of abiding to, and start working with the times. That's what I would do personally.
Well, see, I'm working with the times are, we let Chambliss play a 6-year. We let Diego Pavia play a 6-year. I mean, we don't have rules, Trent.
But in 2 years, that's not going to happen because of this. Because of this unity between, we've gone a little too far. Now it's time to bring it back to where guys maybe get 5 years, maybe, but it's 4.
Well, no, they're getting 5. That's why this whole thing happened. They just didn't include one class. I mean, the NCAA has said we're going to give them 5 years now, but we just didn't include the freshman class of 2022.
And the one class that's in question, I understand the frustration, but if you go to the NFL and you participate in camp and then try to come back, that to me is where that gets very blurred.
So it's okay in basketball, but football's where we're going to stop it?
It's not okay in basketball. I'm not saying it's okay in basketball. I thought the whole Bediako thing with Alabama was ridiculous, and I think the NBA should put their foot down as well.
Well, again, it's not the NBA. It's not the NBA. Quit telling the NBA how to rule college, Trent. The NBA doesn't care. It's not their job, and they don't have any jurisdiction to be telling college basketball or the NFL telling they are just a feeder system. They're just producing guys. They have nothing to do with it. You have to quit this thing that the NBA and NFL, they don't care. It's not their job. And for the record, Trent, I'm with you that I don't think you should be able to sign a contract and play. But all I'm saying is, if I'm talking to the commissioner of the Big 12, say, you sure you want to do this? Because all we do is lose in court. We might have an opportunity here. Miller and Moulton, the best 14s to ever play. Next.
If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller and Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X, or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller and Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest. Now try the best. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Buying or selling a home? Put a local expert to work for you. I'm Mark Miller with McWilliams Buckley, and I believe real estate is about more than transactions. It's about helping people make the right move, from pricing your home to negotiating the best deal. I'll be with you every step of the way. Call or text me today, 239-425-5582. That's 239-425-5582. Experience, local knowledge, and a personal difference. That's what I'll bring to the table.
This is Miller and Moulton.
It's actually a good point. That we really have to change the lingo because these guys are all pros now. I mean, Jeremiah Smith's making $5 million to play college football this year.
I don't think I could think of 5 people in history that are more universally accepted or liked than Dolly Parton. She's got to be up there. Because you can't say anybody political. Maybe Michael Strahan? You like Strahan, Mark?
I'm fine with him. I don't watch any of those shows, so it doesn't really matter to me that he does Good Morning America or whatever the hell he's doing. You know, Mello, I have not reached out to him in a while.
Whew. I know it's a touchy subject, Mark, with this Enes Kanter stuff, but whew.
Well, I mean, we've already talked about it. I'm not going back. I'm not going down that hole. There's no reason. I know how my audience feels, so I don't need to do that. I mean, we don't talk about the WNBA. I made my comments. I got a couple of hateful texts from some people. We know the way they think if they're jumping on me about that.
Yeah, I was not suggesting talking about it. I was just saying, man. I get the point he's making.
Well, when he cuts his junk off, then I get the point he's making. Now he's just making a mockery of it and getting attention to himself, is what I think with he and the other one that are saying that.
Well, he's holding their feet to the fire as far as, I can identify as whatever and then play in your league. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Until you actually, ugh.
That's funny, soda for breakfast. I mean, although I will say, the Hulkster was kind of that way. And he wasn't necessarily a great human being, but the Hulkster was universally loved. Everybody loved the Hulkster. I don't know if Cena has that type of popularity. I'm out of that world. I know
Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford's got to be in that world.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks for texting. Thanks for watching. YouTube.com/Miller and Moulton. Twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. Probably need to get a poll question up today, and I may go off, and I think we've used this before, so I don't like to revisit poll questions because we've got a couple of days today. Today is National Dog Day. So I know I've done big dog, small dog, or, are you a dog person? I'm not going to go there. And I am close to being a dog person again. The wife and the daughter, we're all ready. We know what type of dog we're getting. I was told, however, we have to wait until closer to Christmas. This is going to be a family Christmas present. So every time I go to the Good Dog app and start looking at puppies, I am told not yet. I'm told pump the brakes. And since I'm really not allowed to make a decision in this house, I just live with the decisions that are told to me. And then I have my daughter bully me. She bullied me yesterday. I saw a comedian do a bit on does your teenage daughter bully you? And my daughter's not a teenager yet, but she is already smart enough to bully me. And it was things like, does she, not listen? Does she have you spend money on her that you don't want to spend? And they did it yesterday. I got double teamed on the way home by my daughter and her. We have the carpool going, and both girls decided yesterday to come at me and get something. And last Thursday, I took them to a local place for an ice cream cone. And then on Friday, I found out that the other girl's mom took them for some froyo. And they never told the other girl's mother that they had ice cream the day before. So they double dipped. And yesterday, they began asking for ice cream. It was Tuesday. They hadn't done a damn. I asked them both to make their case for why they deserved a treat. They both were terrible cases. I mean, it was not very, there was not a lot of authenticity to it other than they just, tried to suck up. But their main point was, well, we got you to do it Thursday of last week. And since her mom does it on Friday, it's 2 days in a row. Why don't you do it today? And then she'll do it on Friday. And we kind of alternate how often we get stuff. And I loved their logic. I mean, I give them credit for that.
I was going to say, their logic kind of got you on that. Because I know you and I know how you think, but most people would probably agree with their logic.
Here's the deal.
We got one mom one day, we're going to get the other one the next day.
Here's the deal. I would have easily said no to my daughter. I have no issue telling my daughter, nope, no chance. Because she likes Starbucks. I will not go through that drive-thru and spend that money for overpriced drinks. I won't do it. But, and I've had an unhealthy relationship with ice cream here over the past few months. We are on a break. Me and my affair with Ben and Jerry, we're on a break. We're on a break.
Mark Miller, Ben, Jerry, and the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, my three-way with Ben and Jerry are on a break. So, but because the other girl's in the car, the one thing you don't want to be is the dad that doesn't get him the treat when the other parent's doing it. So I sucked up and I got them their treat yesterday. We'll see how it goes forward from this point. But yeah, they got me. They took full advantage and they knew they were doing it and they're proud of it. That's the other side of it. And it turns to find out they get the girl's dad who runs them to school every day. He got him Starbucks, and my wife brought Starbucks over, got it for my daughter and brought one for the other kid. So they're getting 2 Starbucks a week and 2 ice cream a week. You realize how much money that is? We could be going to dinner somewhere nice every 3 weeks for what we spend on all this crap. But whatever. All right. That's my life in a nutshell. Number 14s. I do think that at the end of the day, football wins. It's close. Baseball's impressive, very impressive. The number one all time probably comes out of baseball, in my opinion. Basketball doesn't have a lot, but the two they have are all timers. And hockey's a bunch of goods, like Theo Fleury, Craig McTavish, Rene Robert, Mario Tremblay, and Brendan Shanahan. That's a pretty damn good list, but it definitely comes in last to me. I'm a big Shanahan guy. Loved the way he played. Could score, could fight, could hit, could do everything. NBA, for you Heat fans out there, yes, Tyler Hero wore number 14. I don't know what he's going to wear next year. But Bob Cousy and Oscar Robinson. Got to go old school with the 14, but that's a good start and finish. That you can't lose with the big O and Bob Cousy.
When you make a top 10 list of point guards in NBA history, I mean, Oscar Robertson's definitely on there. He's probably in the top 5, but Bob Cousy probably cracks the top 10. But you're right, Mark. 14, yeah. I mean, that's what comes to mind with those two guys. Absolutely.
So baseball, the 1-2 punch might be as good. In fact, the 1-2 punch probably better than the NBA 1-2 punch. I'll give you the rest of the list. It's kind of all over the place. We've got, Gil Hodges, Andres Galarraga, Julio Franco, Larry Doby, Vita Blue. All right. One that I have to bring up because he is he's my nemesis, and I've never met him. By all accounts, he is a wonderful human being, but he ruined a year in my teenage years in 1987. Kent Herbeck. I cannot mention 14s without one of the guys responsible for that damn homer hanky and taking my Tigers out in 87. Lou Piniella wore 14 for the Yanks. Jim Rice wore 14 for the Red Sox. But the 1-2 punch, Ernie Banks, Pete Rose. I'll throw that 1-2 up against the Cousy, Oscar Robinson. Then we go to football. And actually, the more I think about it, football is going to come in. Football comes in third. It's a good list, but it's not a great list. I have to throw this on here because he wore it for most of his career and he played for nearly every team. The fact that he could play for this many teams and still get 14 for this many teams is impressive. Ryan Fitzpatrick. Stephon Diggs wore it early in his career. The Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, wore 14, although not the best to wear it, even with his own team.
I was going to say, if you're going to go Ryan Fitzpatrick, you got to at least mention Andy Dalton because he's been to a couple Pro Bowls.
Yeah, well, that Pro Bowl list, that's an important one. Brad Johnson wore 14. Another, Steve Grogan, though, for you Patriot fans going old school. Current 14s, this is interesting because I know you're going to disagree with me, and it's really like Cortland Sutton wears 14. He's good. I don't know out of these two who you put 1 and who you put 2, because they're really close. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Kyle Hamilton, because I think Kyle Hamilton might be the best safety in the game. And St. Brown is not the best receiver in the game, but he's an incredible talent.
No, he's not, but I would also argue that the receiver pool is a little bit richer than the safety pool is.
Absolutely. That's why I said I don't know. I would
and that's where I'll tell you, Mark, just quickly. I agree with what you're saying. Like, it's closer than you think. But I would lean St. Brown. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think St. Brown's better at his position as far as route running, catching balls. He doesn't drop anything than Kyle Hamilton is at his.
Yeah, he's the best safety in the game. Okay? I mean, he's the best safety in the game.
Okay, and what number receiver is Amon-Ra?
He's top 5.
I think he's top 3.
I know you think that, but he might be third because first off, he's at best third.
Yeah, I know he's not number 1. Don't get me wrong.
He's not number 2.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm assuming you're going Chase and Jefferson.
Yeah,
then maybe
right off the bat, without even an argument. And then, is he better than CD Lamb? I don't know. Close. I mean, there are a lot of great receivers. I'm not discounting the man's talent. He's incredible. And yes, the receiver pool is far deeper than the safety pool. But Kyle Hamilton's a blanking stud.
So
That's
I
all
would
I'm saying.
probably take Kyle Hamilton 60% over Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I just want that thrown out there that, yes, the safety pool is maybe a little less shallow or a little more shallow than the receiver pool.
Ken Anderson, Dan Fouts, the other two 14s that deserve a little more time than we just gave them. 14 days away from the start of the NFL.
If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller and Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X, or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller and Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest. Now try the best. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I love Dan Fouts. And Kenny Anderson's really good too. I mean, he really is.
Oh, DC, I think that's a great point. I think JSN, Amon-Ra, and Puka are all kind of similar. They're actually super similar in the way they play. I think any list that had those guys ahead of Amon-Ra would be totally acceptable. Don't get me wrong. Michael, to be honest with you, my roommate's dealing with some legal stuff, so I'm staying away as long as I can. I'll leave it at that. Yes, I think wide receiver might be the richest position in all the NFL right now. Love it, Paula. Dan Fouts, baby. Yeah, RCB, I do too, but it's close. It's very close. Yeah, soda. Puka. Jamar Chase. I actually think Justin Jefferson might be the best receiver in all of football.
Good. We had Brent.
I think he suffered from having J.J. McCarthy as his initial quarterback. Hello.
And he doesn't get a shot at it, Yinzer, and I don't get it. I don't know why he's been passed over so many times. I mean, I get it when he played, obviously, with the guys that were playing, but look at his number. And I know Greasy won the last game. Yeah, I know they did, Michael, but our audience, I know you care, and you could do a segment on it. Our audience doesn't give a rat's ass about soccer players that wore 14. I don't even know if they give a crap about the players I'm mentioning that wear 14.
Would they say Thierry?
No, he just said some heavy hitters in soccer. It's just,
Okay.
I got you. But we didn't start paying attention to soccer in this country until about an hour ago.
You're not wrong.
I know I'm not. I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm pretty sure I'm right.
I know you know.
I don't need that. I don't need the passive. You're not wrong. No. Actually, you're right is the answer. It's not that you're not wrong. Is saying that there's you're only kind of right. You're not wrong, but you're not completely right. No, I'm actually 100% right.
You're right, Mark.
Correct, Clark.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Trent Valley sitting in the co-pilot seat today. I will say the auto racing fan who listens always feels neglected when we do the magic numbers. And many times you give me someone, and I'm not going to say they're not important, but I get that they would make the list, but they're not iconic. And I know I've stretched that with certain sports, but as a gentleman did text in on the Pelican Roofing of Florida text line, he said, I know auto racing never gets talked about on this list, but I can't think of number 14 and not think of AJ Foyt. Okay, I'll give you that. That goes in the iconic wing of all-time sports figures and all-time tough figures. Because, I think AJ Foyt at 82 could have still kicked most people's asses. Like, he's still menacing.
That's also where I will blame myself, not Mark Miller, because I try to come up with the fun 14s, because I know Mark has the rest covered. I mean, he's got the iconic 14s covered. But, I thought of Miami Dolphins. They won the Super Bowl 14-7 back in 1970 something. I don't know. Those are fun things to bring
1970 something?
1970 something. Am I wrong? I think it was 72, 73. Where was it?
I don't know which one was 14. It's not my area of expertise. If you're going to come out with they've won 2 Super Bowls, so which one did they score 14 in? You would seemingly be able to narrow that down without me having to look it up for you.
All I know is it was in Super Bowl 7. So I like to come up with some of those fun things every now and then. So I apologize for not getting to NASCAR.
Well, AJ Foyt was more Indy than NASCAR, but I got you. All right. I was going through a little exercise in my head, and I thought it was worthy of doing at least a segment on. Because it is a quarterback league. We know that. In order
Yep.
to win in the National Football League, you need a great quarterback. So I am curious of which quarterback we think is the best quarterback in each division. And do we then think that that team is going to win the division? Like, for
Okay.
instance, in the NFC East, Trent, how would you rank the quarterbacks? If NFC East, go. Who's the best quarterback in that division?
I would still put Jalen Hurts a hair over
Jaden Daniels?
Jaden Daniels. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so you have both of them ahead of Dak.
Yes, I do.
Funny,
I think what Jaden Daniels showed, even though it's just one season, and I know he's been hurt for a year, so he's kind of out of sight, out of mind. I do think he's better than Dak Prescott. I still think Dak Prescott's a very solid quarterback, but I think Jaden Daniels ahead of him. So for me right now, Mark, to answer your question, I don't want to make this too long. I would take Jalen Hurts number 1 out of the NFC East, and I think the Eagles are going to win that division. Yes.
All right. And it's funny because when I did this, I think Dak is the best quarterback in that division.
Really?
Jaden Daniels played 1 year, got hurt. I think he, when it's all said and done, does he have the ability to be the best quarterback in that division? Certainly. But I can't put him any higher than 3rd right now. He's had 1 good year and he was injured. So I don't know. I would put Dak number 1. I would put Hurts number 2. I would put Daniels number 3. And then I would put the kid in the Giants there, Jackson Dart 4. So that's how I would rank that division. But I still think the Eagles are going to win that division. So for me, the first division I don't think that the best quarterback wins that division. Now, that's not necessarily his fault. But, okay, NFC North. Like, I'm torn on this division because I think 3 teams could win it. Right now, I would go Goff, Williams, Love. By the end of the year, Caleb Williams could be the number 1 quarterback, but he's not there yet. Jared Goff's body of work is better. It is. So that's how I would rank that division, where I know you're going to go Goff because if it was Greg Landry, you'd go Greg Landry. So it doesn't matter. You look through Honolulu blue glasses. Who would you have 2 and 3?
Well, I think somehow I'm a little bit lower on Goff than you are, actually. But we'll move on from that. I have Williams, too. I've got Caleb Williams, too. I think he's got a prime example of a guy who can take off in his 3rd season, really his sophomore season with his new coach. And Jordan Love just is what he is to me, Mark. I don't know how you feel about him. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but Jordan Love to me is he's fine. He's like 6 or 7 out of 10, and it just is what it is. I think Caleb Williams can be better than that. And then I think what the Vikings unfortunately are dealing with is they have a really solid defense and kind of question marks at quarterback. So,
well, there's no doubt that's the last place one.
Yeah.
In the South, I not only think Baker is the best quarterback, I will pick them to win the division. I'm not sure who 2 is. I'm not sure. I know the guy in Atlanta, whoever the starter is 4. I don't know if you want to go Shuck 2 and Bryce Young 3. I don't know if you can really differentiate. Shuck's not done enough yet for me to give him any sort of a ranking. Bryce Young did take that team and win a division last year, so I'd have to give the edge to Bryce Young. But, Baker to me is clearly the best quarterback in that division, and I will pick them to win the division largely because of that.
So I think Jalen over Dak was pretty clear in the NFC East, but I think Baker over all these 3 guys is clearly number 2 as far as the most clear quarterback, jerk decision. I would take Baker number 1, Shuck number 2, and I think the Buccaneers are going to win that division.
So in the NFC West, which we think is either the best or second best division in football, I think you and I would both agree that Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback in that division.
Yes.
Here's to me the fascinating question here. Who's the second best quarterback in that division? Because I put Purdy 2, which means I'm putting a guy who just won the Super Bowl 3. And I don't know if that's the right answer, but I would go Purdy, Darnold before, and then I don't even care about Arizona. But if someone were to tell me that, how do you not take Sam Darnold too? I think you could make a great case. He just won a Super Bowl, had a really good year with Minnesota the year before. So we know he can play, but I think Purdy's the better quarterback. But I think it's a fascinating argument.
It is, and it's closer than a lot of people think. And Mark, you made the argument for me. Sam Darnold has proven in multiple systems that he can win games, okay? So, yes, Stafford's number one, Sam Darnold is number two, and then by a hair, by an eyelash, Brock Purdy's number three. And this draws back to what I said, last week, where I think this division gets three playoff teams. I think we have three really solid quarterbacks, three really solid offenses, and then we go from there. The Cardinals suck. They're going to rebuild, whatever. Jacoby Brissett, good luck. But as far as those three quarterbacks, we agree that Stafford's at the top. We might disagree on two or three.
Yeah, and I like I said, you could make a case for Darnold. I mean, it's 2 years. I don't know if it's multiple systems because he got ran out of town in a few places. So there's that side of it that he couldn't play in certain places. So that's why I'll take Purdy's consistency. All right. I don't think there's any question. I'm not worried about the Jets and Smith and Malik Willis in Miami. We'll find out if Willis can play at all this year. But until proven otherwise, obviously, we're all going to take the guy in Buffalo as number one and Drake May number two. I don't even think that that's arguable at this point.
Right.
May has the ability to jump up. All right. AFC North. Now, I have Watson last. I have Rodgers I have Rodgers in third. I took Joe Burrow 1, and I have not necessarily second guessed myself, but it's when you're not taking Lamar as the best quarterback in the division, I don't know if you can get away with that and not get beat up. I'm taking Burrow because I have a love affair with Joe Burrow. This is another one though. I'm not picking Cincinnati to win the division. I'm going to pick Baltimore to win the division. So even though I think Burrow's the best quarterback, I think the best teams in Baltimore, I think this is a 1 and a 1A, but I'm slightly giving it to Burrow.
But Mark, couldn't I argue, even if you're not going to pick Cincinnati to win the division, that you still might think the best quarterback won't win the division?
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly the exercise that we're playing here, Trent. I think that Burrow's the best quarterback, and I'm trying to say, if because you have the best quarterback, does that overwhelmingly say you're going to win the division? Well, I'm not sure in the North. I'm picking Detroit. Out of that, I don't think Dallas is winning, and I would take Dak before Jalen Hurts. I would.
Okay.
I've already got Eagles fans mad at me. I think the Eagles are winning the division. I think they're clearly the best team in the division. I think Dak's a better quarterback. I don't know what to tell you.
So as far as 2 and 3 are in the NFC West between Darnold and Purdy, I think 1 and 2 are as close in the AFC North between Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. I think people are really having a dilemma, I guess, to put it lightly. I would still put Lamar number 1. He's won an MVP. He's still played at a very high level unless he's hurt. And I guess you could say the same exact thing about Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
and
you
that's
can.
Why they're so
and Burrow's
close.
gotten to the final game. So that's a tough one. But okay. All right. In the AFC South, I think we'll all put Ward at the bottom. And then, I think Trevor's the best quarterback in that division. Danny Dimes was good last year, but they're all guys, they're all a work in progress. I'll vote Trevor number 1, but it's another division that I don't think the best quarterback wins the division. I think Houston's going to win that division, but I think Trevor's the best quarterback.
And this is another one where I think Trevor and CJ is a real debate, but I agree with you. I think Trevor's up there. And then I'll put CJ number 2, Daniel Jones at 3rd because he's a safe player. He doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. And then Cam Ward by default is 4th. I feel bad for him in this discussion, honestly.
Well, I mean, he's young. We don't know what they have there. He's got better coaching this year. We'll figure it out. And then finally,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
If the NFC West isn't the best division, it's the AFC West. And the team with the third best quarterback is the team that I think will win the division because Mahomes is clearly the best quarterback. You're not going to argue that. I think Herbert's second. I think Nick's is third. But I would take Denver to win the division. I don't know if you would agree with the rankings, if you would go those 1, 2, 3, if you'd put Knicks 2. But I think it's clearly Mahomes, Herbert, Knicks in that order.
And I hate this because I hate the Chiefs and I hate the cultural, tornado that's become of this. I think the Chiefs just win enough games to win that division again. I think they win 11, 12 games. They win that division.
What's the order
I think
of quarterbacks,
the Chargers are a play.
Trent, how would you rank
Patrick Mahomes number one
division? And then would it be Herbert
Patrick
or Nick?
Mahomes 1, Justin Herbert 2, Herbert 2, Knicks 3, and obviously Mendoza 4.
So I guess the reason I did this exercise is that I have, in my opinion, look, I could end up being wrong, but I think there's at least 4 quarterbacks that are the best in their division that will not win their division. And yes, it's a quarterback-driven league. And you're talking very close when you're talking Burrow and Lamar. But I don't think Dallas wins the division. I think they have the best quarterback. I'm not set on Detroit winning the division, even though at this point in time, I think that Jared Goff, heading into the season, you would rank him as the best quarterback. Maybe not. There are some of you that think that it's Love. There are, by the end of the year, I very well think it could be Caleb Williams. But at this point, 1 year doesn't do that for me. And certainly, Mahomes right now, I think he's the best quarterback in the world. And I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs have enough to win that division. I think Denver's got the best roster. Love their defense. I like the coach-quarterback combination with what he's doing with Knicks. And I think they have a lot of room for improvement. I love the moves they made in the offseason, adding the wide receiver, getting Waddle there. I mean, this adds a lot to Denver because that was an area I thought they were a little short. Now it makes Mims and it makes everybody else a little bit better now that you add what I think, and I don't know if Waddle's a true one, but it just adds to their whole receiving core. And I like where Denver's at. But I just wanted to do that exercise to think that we always say the best quarterback is the guy that's going to win the division. I don't necessarily think that's the case. And look, if you think Hurts is better than Dak, that's fine. I don't think it's a huge argument because obviously Hurts has won the final game. His postseason's better, but their organization is eons better than what Dallas's is. And Dak, from an offensive standpoint, is still terrific. And I think we'll see that offense fly this year. I just don't know if the defense is good enough for them to get to double-digit wins.
Mark, I think you can easily make the argument that Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott is a debate, and Dak Prescott might well come out on top.
Miller and Moulton, we'll talk Steelers next. Will Graves to join us, and then David Bearman at the bottom of the hour. Miller and Moulton.
If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller and Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller and Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest. Now try the best. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
The
sound.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000 depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
Buying or selling a home? Put a local expert to work for you. I'm Mark Miller with McWilliams Buckley, and I believe real estate is about more than transactions. It's about helping people make the right move, from pricing your home to negotiating the best deal. I'll be with you every step of the way. Call or text me today, 239-425-5582. That's 239-425-5582. Experience, local knowledge, and a personal difference. That's what I'll bring to the table.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Mark, did you guys ever interview Aaron Rodgers?
No, we've never had him on the show.
Okay, just curious. Yeah, DC, they did. The Pats and the Bears. A lot of one-score games. Not belittling it, but something to keep in mind. I love that Eagles defense. Damn. Oh. Would love to have it. DC, unfortunately, I feel like we're at the point where it doesn't really matter who they have at receiver. It's the quarterback.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Halfway through on a Wednesday. Time to wrap up our talk about the AFC North. We've already done a little Cleveland talk, a little Cincinnati talk. We did the Ravens yesterday, and we'll finish things up in the Steel City to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Will Graves joins us on the line now. You can follow Will on X at Will Graves AP. Will Graves AP. He's an AP writer out of Pittsburgh, joining us on Miller and Moulton. Mark and Trent with you this morning. Will, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. You forgot to mention former news staff writer. You forgot to mention in my intro, but I appreciate it.
Well, you're so big now that I try to take the Naples I try to take the Naples part right out of it. But yeah, Will goes back to the 239 when he worked in Naples a long time ago. Our paths would cross at what was then Tico Arena. Now you know it as Hertz Arena. That's how far back Will and I go when he was covering sports in this market. But Will, the Steelers this year are they're always a bit fascinating because we're running it back with Aaron Rodgers, but now McCarthy's the coach. The fans there are getting really sick and tired of 9-8, not 8-9 because that never happens, but 9-8 and early playoff exits. Why would this year be any different? Is there anything you see personnel-wise that would make you think that this year is going to be better for the Steelers?
I think for the first time, probably since Todd Haley was the offensive coordinator at the height of the Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell era, they have a guy calling plays that knows what he's doing. And I think that's probably, if you're going to look for something to hang your hat on, it's the idea that the offense will be kind of more dynamic than it's been, even with Rodgers at 42 years old. He's not where he was when he was winning MVPs, but he was an effective quarterback last year when they could protect him. But that's sort of the big, that's sort of the downside. If you want to score points and make big plays, you have to protect him. The last we saw them in a real game, they were getting mauled by the Texans in the playoffs. That being said, I think if you're looking for optimism, it's the idea that the game plan will be more dynamic. They've got more playmakers. They got Michael Pittman in the off season. They got Rico Dowdle to complement Jalen Warren in the backfield. They really like Pat Freiermuth. They got a rookie in the draft, the receiver from Georgia, Jeremy, and I'm sorry, Marcus, it's early. His last name's blanking on me.
Bernard.
They have more They have more playmakers, than they've had, and a guy who knows how to get guys in space and create attacks that can be dynamic. So that's the optimism. But the reality is, I think it's like they're going to be competent, but it's to put them in the class of which we would consider to be the AFC, the Bills and the Ravens, even though obviously they have a new coach too, the Chiefs of the world. I'm just not ready to go there.
Well, Will, as far as the Steelers have revamped, as far as, the coaching staff and everything in between, and bringing back Aaron Rodgers, how should the Steelers feel? Looking around the AFC North right now, a lot of new faces.
But right, I don't think they were upset that the Browns named Deshaun Watson the quarterback the other day. I don't think anybody else was either, except for the people in Cleveland themselves. Look, the Ravens have a new coaching staff. the Bengals have the most talent probably, certainly offensively in the division, but it's sort of like, well, can Joe Burrow stay healthy? I think that they're going to be like the TJ Watt is not the TJ Watt even a few years ago, but he's still an effective guy. They re-signed Nick Herbig, their sort of TJ Watt 2.0, like a JV-ish version of TJ, to an extension in the offseason. They've got Jalen Ramsey is still playing at a high level. Joey Porter Jr., if assuming they come to some sort of contract agreement, this is like to give you guys a peek behind the scenes here. Basically, they put Joey Porter Jr. on the PUP list when camp started, saying his back hurt, and then Mike McCarthy came out and told us point blank on Monday, well, we're at a contract impasse, and that's basically where we're at, and that's why he's not playing. And we asked him yesterday, is he hurt? And he goes, well, he's on the PUP list, which was not saying that he was hurt. So it's a very weird dynamic. Joey thinks he's one of the top 5 cornerbacks in the league. I'm not sure he's that high up, but I mean, look, he's entering his 4th season, and he had it coming off a great year last year. He wants to get paid. He wants his respect. But it's just a very different, but Mike Tomlin would have just lied to our face like every other NFL coach about Joey's status, where you have McCarthy basically telling us, oh yeah, he's not playing because of his contract situation. I think everybody's trying to get a feel for things around here. I mean, I will say that Tomlin is missed because he's just such a charismatic guy. Like your eyes would always sort of drift towards him because you could always hear him, during practice. You could always, you could see why the players, cared for him the way that they did. And McCarthy is obviously he's got his resume is almost identical to Tomlin's, but his approach is very different. I mean, he's very low key. He's very sort of boring isn't the right word because I don't think he's boring, but I think he's just sort of compared to Mike Tomlin, pretty much anybody's going to be boring, right? So it's just a new day in Pittsburgh. I think there will be some feeling out process, but I think they're going to be competent. I think they're going to be they're probably in the same space, and that's fine if you're running it back. I mean, the big debate up here in Pittsburgh as we get close to the regular season at the end of the preseason is what are they going to do behind Aaron Rodgers? Are they going to carry 3 backup quarterbacks with Mason Rudolph, Drew Aller, and Will Howard? They drafted Aller in the 3rd round out of Penn State this year. Physically, the guys, I mean, you look at him and you understand why he's a converted high school linebacker. I mean, he looks the part, right? But there's some issues with his mechanics. I think he's a raw project. He's probably a couple years away. Will Howard won a national title at Ohio State a couple of years ago, 6th-round pick. Not a lot of investment in there, but he's a big kid. I think the reality is they're sort of just treading water. They couldn't find their guy this offseason at quarterback, and that's how it's been since Ben Roethlisberger retired. Right. To be honest with you, that's their biggest challenge facing them, and I think until they find their guy, they're going to kind of be stuck in this sort of middle ground of being pretty good but not great.
It's interesting. They've got the old quarterback, but they really have an old defense. And, you mentioned Watt and Hayward, and then you look at Ramsey. These guys are all, the first digits of 3. But when it comes to Rodgers, and we saw it last year, it was Houston, and they were really good, and I get that. But this offensive line, the Steelers have invested a lot of draft picks in the offensive line. And if they can't, if you get a rush on Rodgers, he doesn't seem interested in sitting in there, and I don't blame him. So you talked about maybe the dynamic offense. Is the offensive line and the investments they've made in all these draft picks the last 3 years, are they ready to be able to protect Rodgers? Because you're right. The difference between, 7 wins and 10 wins to me comes from the offensive line. Can they do it?
They can do it. I mean, it's, Zach Frazier, the center, is going to be one of the best in the league, I think, for the next 5 to 7 years. I think that's kind of where he's at as he enters his 3rd season. You have Troy Fautanu, the 1st-round pick a couple of years ago, got hurt most of his rookie season, was pretty good last year. They drafted Max Yannickor, who's sort of a project, but is probably going to, start sooner rather than later. He had an injury during camp that set him back a little bit, so he might have to wait a little bit behind Dylan Cook. The big question mark here is, and it doesn't seem to be a question mark anymore, unfortunately, is Broderick Jones. So they traded up to get in 23. They declined the 5th-year option. He got hurt at the end of in November last year against the Bears, kind of a weird injury where a guy was rushing and jumped up and landed sort of on top of Broderick's head and created a neck injury that cost him the season. The rehab didn't go as planned. I mean, look, he's the guy, when you look at him, you're like, oh, this dude's a beast. But he lost some strength. His confidence is absolutely shot at the moment. And, I mean, there's a chance they cut him. I mean, this guy was a first-round pick. There's a chance they cut him. It's not a guarantee that he's going to make the roster. So while I think there's some young talent there, the depth isn't great. I mean, Spencer Anderson's kind of a guy that can kind of bounce around the line, but there's a reason he sort of is at where he's at in his career. Dylan Cook will probably be the starting left or right tackle. They're still kind of deciding what they're going to do there when the season starts, but he's a journeyman. They've got some, but Frazier's, going to be really good. Fatano's going to be really good. But again, it's Darnell Washington their tight end is essentially like a sixth lineman. I mean, he's the biggest guy on the team. I mean, he's a mountain of a dude. So they have options to sort of, to help out. I mean, Jalen Warren's great in pass protection. But it's just to your point, if they can stay healthy and progress, yes, they've got a chance. But it's, if Broderick Jones could somehow find the form he showed maybe in the middle of his second season where he looked like he was going to be a guy for the next 5-7 years, that would be great. But it certainly looks like that is not the case at the moment.
He's Will Graves, covers the Steelers and Pittsburgh sports for the AP, joining us here on Miller and Moulton. Will, thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it. Great catching up with you. Best of luck this season. Good luck with those 2 high school kids. I know that's a bigger challenge than the Steelers' offensive line. So keep up the good work, my man.
Yeah, happy to talk anytime. And shout out to Ed Reed. Miss you, buddy. See you.
All right. Ed Reed, longtime sports writer here in the Fort Myers, Naples market. Fun to catch up with Will. Like I said, he and I didn't really work together. When he was in Naples, he was covering a lot of youth sports and doing a lot of that type of stuff. But he was always, I worked at the hockey rink for a minor league team. He was always at the rink covering different things, covering events. Super guy. Glad that he's made his way up the ladder and working in Pittsburgh, covering the Steelers, Pittsburgh sports in general, and working for the AP. You can follow him, Will Graves AP, Will Graves AP. Pittsburgh last year was 4-2 in the division, and they swept Baltimore. I would start with saying, do you think their record in the division is the same, better, or worse than last year?
Worse.
If that's the case, that's 3-3. That alone would take them to 9. I think you can get Cleveland twice. It's just a matter if you split the other 2. I think they can equal that mark, and they're going to have to if they're going to try to make their way back to the playoffs. David Bearman coming up in about 25 minutes time. And then an hour from now, we will talk Texas Longhorns in the Pro Hour. Miller and Moulton, Trent Bally in the co-pilot seat. Thanks so much for listening.
The Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, that's the irony. I mean, they sweep Baltimore last year and lose to Cleveland. And you're right. Is that like 3 years in a row they've lost a game to Cleveland? It's amazing. I do think the North gets a break schedule-wise. Oh, I'm going to get whoops. Wow. How about Dolly Parton doing Collective Soul? That's pretty interesting. I'm going to probably get bounced for that. Hopefully I didn't play enough to get in trouble for that. I didn't realize I had the Bluetooth still on. That's on me.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Thanking you so much for listening. Wednesday morning edition of the show. We will talk a little Texas Longhorns an hour from now. Excited to catch up with Geoff Ketchum. It's been a while since we've talked to him. I think it was coaching issues and literally going back 4 or 5 years. I think 5 years. It's funny because obviously with all of the changes that have gone on in the show here recently, David always took care of booking the guest. And now I'm doing that as well as the other jobs that I had with the show. And that's fine. But I have had to rely upon some of our old friends to help. And one of those people is John Cassio, the longtime producer of the show. And John still works in the media business, and John's contacts have contacts. So if I'm in a bind for a number, I usually reach out to John first. I've got a lot of numbers here. I've got NFL. I've got my numbers have numbers. But with college, sometimes I don't have them. And like, for instance, he's good at getting them. Like Brooks Austin, who's on the show tomorrow. I'm like, John, I want this Brooks Austin's guy. Can you track him down for me? I mean, within 30 minutes, I've got a phone number. And these are not that easy to get. So that's how we ended up getting Brooks. And when I asked for a Texas guy, I was hoping he was going to give me Geoff, because I remember we had him on the show. But for whatever reason, I thought I saved the number. I didn't. And then when I texted Geoff to ask him to come on, the text history comes up. And it was like 2021 the last time I sent this guy a text. So it was still there. So, I'm sure he deleted it. But, maybe it pops up there occasionally. But it is happy to have Geoff on. Good guy, smart guy, really knows Texas football. We'll talk about them in a moment. I do think one thing that needs to be brought up when it comes to the AFC North, and we probably could have just put a poll question of who you think is going to win that division. And this could be where the first, second, third place teams make a bit of difference here. Because when you're playing, in Pittsburgh's case, they're playing Denver. Cincinnati, well, they get Kansas City. So I don't know where the edge is there. But I don't think that the AFC crossovers are as daunting as what others may get. They get the NFC South. Well, that's arguably the worst division in football. There are 4 winnable games. Will you win 4 games? No, but there are 4 winnable games. Their division is interesting. Pittsburgh went 4-2 in the division last year. They swept Baltimore, split with the other 2. Let's just say they sweep Cleveland and split with the other 2. They're right back in the same spot. But they get New Orleans and Tampa Bay and Atlanta and Carolina. So, these are games that are obviously winnable. And then they play the AFC South. So I don't know what you all think about Jacksonville. I am fascinated by the Jags this year, because coming off of 13 wins, I don't know if they go from 13-10 or 13-9. I think they come back to the pack a little bit. I think a lot of things went right for Jacksonville last year, including what the number of turnovers that defense was able to get. Typically, those things don't run concurrently. Typically, you don't have back-to-back great turnover differentials, and they don't sack the quarterback. So they're great against the run. So, but again, when you look at the AFC North, a lot of people are looking at that as maybe one playoff team. Just by scheduling, they could end up with 2, and Pittsburgh could be the odd team out. So I do think that the schedule is part of it. RCB saying the Jags manhandled the Bucs yesterday in a joint practice. Okay, well, they couldn't stop the Saints a week before that. So you got to take these joint practices with a grain of salt. But when it comes to the AFC North, I do think it could be multiple teams that make the postseason, that it could be where it's not Jacksonville and Houston this year. It's one or the other. So I just think there's a lot to be said about who you play in determining who makes the postseason.
Well, when you talk about what the Jags should be worried about going into the season, it should be, obviously quarterback. And the wide receiver core, because that's what it should be, even though I think that it's very well balanced. But the Jags as a whole, I mean, it's kind of, yeah, you did benefit from a lot of, nice breaks last season. Do you still get the Texans crumbling like they did last year? Do you still get, those breaks that you got at the end of the season last year? Can you win? I don't think 13 is on the table, Mark. I don't think you're predicting that either. But I think you could win 10 or 11 games and still be just fine. I think my biggest question within the division is, do the Colts come back? What do they look like when they come back?
And I think those are, when you're looking at that division, I was, but the scheduling as far to me, I think the AFC North, and that's what we've been talking about all week. I think they do have the ability to get two teams in because of the teams they play. That was really the point that I was making. I think Baltimore and Cincinnati and Pittsburgh will all be viable for playoff spots. Not all three of them will get in, but when, this is where I was big on the Patriots not being a playoff team. The more I look at the schedule is tougher, but the more I look at the fact that if they split with Buffalo, that's 5. Like, I don't think they're losing to the Jets or to the Dolphins. So then you only have to get 5 of the next 11. I don't think that's the same case with some of the other divisions. And given the fact that Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincinnati play against the weaker the NFC South, that it could be a division that pops up with two teams. So that's just, we talked about quarterbacks earlier. The problem with Aaron Rodgers, to me, what we saw in Houston, in the Houston game, when there was a pass rush, he didn't seem interested. And I'm just not sold on that offensive line. I think they've got issues at the tackle spot on the right side. The tackle they drafted 2 years ago, he was better last year. He was hurt 2 years ago. They can eat a lot out of him. They went and drafted in the line with that, what is it? It starts with the I. It's a goofy name to pronounce, but he was their first round pick. He hasn't won the job yet. So I worry about Pittsburgh's offensive line. I think their defense is a little long in the tooth. They obviously, here's the thing. They spend more money on defense than any other team. They spend more money on that side of the ball than any other team. So how much of that is in their concerns when they're talking about signing Joey Porter Jr.? Now, they need him, but they can't pay him what he wants. So they are at an impasse. And I don't know how that'll work out for them, because you're going to need all of your top players in sync. And right now, I think Porter will play, but this is a guy whose dad played in the league, understands the business, and Joey Porter's trying to get paid right now. And the difference between Cincinnati and Pittsburgh with the first and third place schedules, that will come into play. But I do think, I think I'm picking Baltimore to win the division. We went through this exercise earlier. When you look at quarterback, and coach and quarterback, and I just did quarterback rankings in the division. Does having the best quarterback mean you're going to win the division? Well, I don't think it does in the AFC North. I don't think it does in the AFC South. I don't think it does in the AFC West, because I don't think that Kansas City's the best team in that division. I would take Dak over Hurts. I think it's close, but I don't think there's a way in hell that Dallas wins that division. Which quarterback do you have in the North? Do you have Goff? Do you have Williams? Do you have Love? And does that change your mind on who you think wins that division? Now, I think Stafford's the best in the West, and I think they'll win the division, but there's a lot around him. So, quarterback, obviously, it's the most important position. And if Mahomes gets in the tournament, we all know what he can do. But it doesn't necessarily mean you win the division.
Let's go over the South one more time, NFC South, real quickly. Because I've got Mayfield, Shook, Young, Tua. That's my ranking in order.
Well, look, it's a one playoff team league. Right. No one's making the playoff that doesn't win the division. I think we can all agree on that. And Baker, yes, clearly the best quarterback, and a lot riding on this season for him. David Bearman to join us to discuss some gambling next.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000 depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best. Be Cape.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
The
sound.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
If you're a
I don't know about badly, but I do think it could be the difference between 8 and 9. Yeah, I mean, I guess badly because it could take them out of the playoffs, Ginzer. I don't disagree with that. You may be on to something, sir. You may be on to something. Good morning, David. How are you?
Good. How are you guys? Mark, Trent?
What's up, David?
Great. Doing great.
Battling a horrific combo of a back injury and poison ivy at the same time.
Oh my God! So you hit your golf ball left,
Yep.
went into the poison ivy, and that's where you got that. Was it a hook or a slice? Let's get to that.
Slice for
All
sure.
right.
If I knew how to hook, I'd be a really, really good golfer.
Okay, if I could hit a fade, I'd be a pretty good golfer too. So you and I need to get together and figure out something in the middle, my friend.
Ironically, the last golf round that I did actually pretty well. When we did a scramble and you're using my drive 9 times, that's not really good for scoring. So,
did you get the poison ivy literally looking for a golf ball though?
I have no idea. Honestly.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
I've never had poison ivy before. I didn't know it was poison ivy. I just thought I had a rash because it's the summer and the sun's out. And
right.
I went to the doctor because I hurt my back, unrelated to golf. And to be honest, I was changing a tire on a lawnmower, and it was up on a brick, so I could get the tire off and get it fixed. And then to get it back on, I had to lift the lawnmower off the brick and have my wife slide the tire on the axis.
Right.
And I felt the back start going, and I had a choice: lose the back or lose the wife, because I could drop the lawnmower on the wife.
Right. You can't do that. Right. Honey, move. I'm going to drop this. Move quickly.
So I held it and felt the back continue to go and go and go. And now I'm in pain, and the wife is fine. But,
Well, that at the end of the day, that's most important.
Right. So save the marriage, hurt the back, and,
And you don't need a new lawnmower.
And I don't need a new lawnmower.
Now she's just got to cut the grass for a few weeks because your back's shot.
The poison ivy, I think, I know there's a little bit in the yard, and it got overgrown, and I was getting close to the edge, and I have to go under a tree, and I ducked, and the tree hit me in the head, and I think the tree had poison ivy, and then it becomes hey, you got a bug bite here, you got a bug bite here.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Making our way through the middle of the week, Wednesday edition. And this is when David Bearman joins us every week, Wednesday, bottom of the 8 o'clock hour. He runs Bearman Bets, Bearman Bets.com. That's where you can sign up for his premium service. Get all his information. If you want to test him out first, just sign up for the newsletter. That comes free once a week. You can kind of see where his head is on a lot of different things. We mainly talk football with him, but he covers everything. He covers the WNBA. If you want to gamble on that, he has a baseball bettor too. And let's get to the crux to the matter before we get going. What it's tough to do when you bet golf is hit winners. You can go top tens. You can do a mono match and try to bet that way. But the big money's hitting a winner. And somebody told his audience, someone told his subscribers, Wyndham Clark is the guy to play. And I'm guessing when Sunday started, you felt great. About an hour and a half later, you were blanking your pants. But he had a great back nine, made some big birdies. So congratulations to him. But more importantly, congratulations to you for a little 30-1 shot.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a good golf year. And like you said, I normally do well in the top 10s and top 20s and play those. And I'll take a couple of shots at the outrights. But obviously, that's where the big money is. And I've had a really good year. That's the 5th outright that I've hit this year, 4 pre-tournament and 1 in the middle of the tournament. Wyndham Clark, I liked the way he was playing. I think he just had a perfect style for that course, and you're 100% right. I went on a show Sunday morning and said, I'm not even sweating. I'm not hedging. I'm all first-team hedge usually. I'm confident he's got a 5-shot lead. Don't worry about it. I went and did some family stuff, went and did some kid stuff. I come back, and it was tied with 6 holes to go. So I had to sit there and figure out what my hedging scenarios were. At the end of the day, I said, you know what? Wyndham's going to win I went against what I normally do, and I did not hedge. And he went ahead and, here's the funny part. I was so frustrated after he missed a birdie on 15 that I tweeted out, is Wyndham ever going to hit another putt in his life ever again? And then he went birdie, birdie, birdie over the last 3 holes. So I feel like I kind of kicked his ass into gear a little bit and got that 30-1.
Well, you would have been the one kicking the lockers had he not won. And not only did he make putts, he rolled in some putts on those last trips. Hey, I am curious from a golf gambling standpoint, not to tell me who you're betting on, and the Tour Championship is a little bit different because it's obviously a really small field. But when you are betting winners, are you typically going to take, because obviously you're getting huge odds, so you don't have to just pick one guy. Are you at one guy, two guys, four guys? When you're just trying to analyze a golf tournament and telling people, all right, here are the guys I like. How many do you go with typically?
It depends on tournament to tournament. I typically settle around 3 or 4, and they're all half unit plays. So I'll fully transparent 30 to 1, pay technically 15 to 1 on my unit plays as opposed to a top 10 as a full unit. Did get the 30 to 1, but I didn't play it for a full unit because I have other guys. I typically will take one of the, not necessarily the favorite, or one of the top 5 or 6 favorites on the board that I think has good monetary value and has good metrics / course history, and someone that I like that's good. I usually then take someone further down the board in the 20 to 30 to 41 range that is someone I think is getting hot at the right time or fits a certain course or something that I saw the week before. And then I will always play a long shot. The long shot sometimes is a quarter unit.
Right.
Maybe it's a half unit at most. We'll take a long shot. So every single tournament I will have one. I also write a column on Prize Picks that demands a long shot. It's called Sleepers and Long Shots. So I will take a long shot every week, usually on a normal event, not a playoff event. I'll take an 80 to 100 to 1 shot that I think just could be an outlier, someone who could just get hot and win this type of tournament. I've hit them before. I've hit an 80 to 1 shot before. Usually I'll play those for about a quarter of a unit, and then I dive into the top 10s and top 20s.
All right. Just curious, because golf is we have a huge golf audience in 2 of our markets, Fort Myers, Naples, and St. Pete and Tampa are monster golf markets. They're both top 3 television markets in the country. So I know a lot of folks are interested in that. It's Bearman Bets, BEARMAN bets.com, where you can subscribe to the newsletter. All right. We've kind of made it. Week 0. This isn't one where, and I don't want to divulge all of your plays because there's not a ton of games out there. But I had Bud Elliott on yesterday, and one of the things, and he's pretty good prognosticator when it comes to college ball. And one of the things he said, and I started paying attention to it and started looking a little deeper, is that if you want to play this TCU North Carolina game, well, the winner and who's in the point spread might not be where it's at, because there's a chance for it to look like the British Open Saturday morning at this game in Ireland, and the under might be a play. When you look at that game, is there anything that you see?
And I'm in agreement there. I do like the under in this game because of the weather situation, plus tremendous amount of turnover on both sides. And that's the era we're in. We're in the NIL transfer portal era. So you're going to see a lot of turnover year after year with these teams now, with the new rules or lack of rules that they have. And that is going to lead, and this is not across the board, but it's going to lead to a lot of unders early, because I'm not necessarily sure that the sportsbook markets have adjusted to the new era yet. You got teams that have 20 to 25 new players that have not played a game together yet. Sure, they've had practice. Sure, they've had camp. But look what happened last year. Bill Belichick takes over at UNC. Everybody's talking about Belichick owning college football. He has 70 new players on his roster that they put in there, and they went and absolutely got run out of the building by the same TCU team. So it takes a little while for some of these teams to gel. This year, UNC brings in a new offensive coordinator. Welcome back, Bobby Petrino. Okay, Bobby Petrino is back. Doesn't matter. You have new quarterback. You got new players. Petrino likes to rush the ball. They were a passing team last year. So you don't really know what to expect on a UNC team that was beyond awful last year. I don't really think they got any better. I said from the beginning, I don't think Bill Belichick is made for the college game, regardless of how they organize things in Chapel Hill. They couldn't get off the field last year. They were 4-8. They got 20 new players this year after having 70 new players last year. TCU, most wins in the Big 12 the last 4 seasons. Sonny Dykes is a great head coach. Always loved him. He also has a new offensive coordinator, bringing in a guy from UConn. Lost their quarterback to Indiana. Josh Hoover, no longer there. He'll be filling Mendoza's spot. New quarterback. Harvard transfers. They have a lot of new things to do. You're overseas in another country. I don't expect this to be a 45-40 game Weather will be a factor. I lean TCU because I quite frankly think the Tar Heels are terrible, but it is a lot of points to lay. The weather's going to be an issue, so I do like the under there.
Okay, so the Buckeyes, like, talk to me. Come on. Win loss. I mean, whatever the win or loss is, the over under, how confident are you in the Ohio State Buckeyes, and go from there.
I mean, the Ohio State Buckeyes number is 10.5 wins. That's what it's been almost every single year. And here's a stat, Trent, that I'll throw to you. Like Ryan Day, whether you like him or don't like him, has never had more than 2 losses in a season. That's just phenomenal. Like never more than 2 losses. So if you're playing that game, then you would want to play the over because that's 1 loss. That's 11-1, and the second loss would maybe come in the playoff. Last year, undefeated in the regular season, kind of number 1 in the country all year, kind of ho-hummed their way through, not really playing anybody, and then got beat by an Indiana team in the Big Ten title game in a battle of unbeatens, 1 versus 2, but that was a 3-point game. And then they got a bad draw in the playoffs, having to play a really hot Miami team. I like this Buckeyes team, Trent. They got 2 Heisman candidates there at wide receiver and quarterback. You got to, whether you like Ryan Day or not, he gets the job done every single year. I know he gets a bad rap, and the one year he loses to Michigan, he wins the national title. This is a national title contending team. They do obviously have a couple of tough games on the schedule, having to play Oregon, having to play Indiana. You got the Big Ten title game. I think they'll lose one because almost everybody loses one. But I would take the over because I do think they win the Big Ten, and then, you're in the playoff and anything can happen. But for the regular season, 10.5 wins, I lean towards the over because this is a team that has owned the regular season, and they're probably top to bottom, one of the top 3 rosters in the country. The problem you have, Trent, is I think the best roster in the country is in your same conference on the other side of the country in the Oregon Ducks.
And they play Oregon and they play Texas, who is also a top roster. They play Indiana. I mean, it is, say what you want about the Big Ten, but Ohio State's schedule is the real deal this year because not only do they have Indiana and Oregon, they play Michigan, they play at Iowa, which is not an easy game, and then the Texas game. So if Ryan Day were not to win 10 games, this might be the year. But the point he made, they haven't lost. They've won 10 games every year since Urban got there. They've been at least a 10-win team from Urban and through Ryan Day. So obviously that's something you can kind of count on. You might be able to kind of middle this one because you can get big odds on going over 9.5 and if you wanted to play the middle game, but that's a little tougher go. All right. When you look at right now, you're trying to get value as best you can, and it changes every day. But is there a division winner in the NFL that you think is worthy of taking a shot at? We were going through an exercise of how many, to me, there's a bunch of quarterbacks that I think might be the best quarterback in their division, but I don't know if their team's going to win the division. So if you were to bet that, go ahead.
I was say I'll give you one, but it's not a play I would make today. It is a play that would wait a little while on. If you look at it, and this is not by any stretch of the imagination the world's greatest play. We've talked about the NFC South. They do not have a very good team in that division. Tampa's probably the cream of the crop, and I say that for all the people listening in Tampa is the best of the worst in that division. If you look at the New Orleans Saints schedule, you got 2 really hard games coming out of the gate on the road. I believe it's Chicago and Baltimore, probably 0-2. You have a pretty tough 7-game stretch, including a game overseas, and then you get your bye. At the end of 7 weeks, regardless of whether the Saints are good or bad, they're probably looking at a 2-5 record. Maybe 2 games back in a really soft division. You look at the rest of the schedule, there's every single game on the rest of their second half of the schedule is you could see them winning. Now, they're not going to go 9-0, but they're winnable games. They're not tough. There's no outdoors in cold weather games. You're going to Tampa, you're going to Atlanta. You got easy games on the schedule. Let's say they come back from overseas and they're 2-5, and instead of being plus 280 to win the division, they're plus 400 to win the division. The team that went 5-1 to end last season against a crappy schedule, they're going to have the same crappy schedule this year. What is to prevent them from doing that again? So I would look at it in season play on the Saints in terms of potentially winning that division with 8 or 9 wins. A bet that I would make today that I think has some value, I'd go over to the NFC East. And, the Eagles are the favorite to win the division, as well they should be. They won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They won the division last year. But I say this knowing people are going to be like, yeah, whatever. The Dallas Cowboys, I think, have value at 2-1 to win that division because I think fully healthy. I like their roster. I like their offense. They had one of the top 2 offenses in the league last year. Their defense has gotten better. I like what they did with their first-year head coach last year in Schottenheimer. Big if everyone stays healthy, I think that's a team that can win the NFC East.
He's David Bearman. Follow him by following him on X at David Bearman, Bearman. Bearman Bets is where you want to go to sign up for the newsletter. Comes out weekly. You can subscribe to the premium service, and then you can be on Wyndham Clark 30-1 and cash big tickets and know that your weekend's going to be a little bit better. Our week's going to be better because we have David every week to talk some gambling on the show, and he did so again here on Miller and Moulton. David, thanks as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. The Wednesday newsletter will be out in about 2 hours. We'll have my entire Tour Championship card in there. So if you like betting the golf, it'll be in there.
There you have it. David Bearman on Miller and Moulton, joining us every Wednesday this year at 8:38. Looking forward to that. He's got good information and even went a little golf for you. So it was funny. I just looked at his post on X, and he had reposted something from the guy that used to be the local weatherman here, Matt Devitt. But I didn't realize because Cristobal was the last hurricane. And that's out there and gone. And, obviously the connection. But the D hurricane is Dolly. Wow. And Dolly Parton passed away. So that is certainly, that's just eerie, to say the least, on that. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Pelican Roofing of Florida text line is open at 21,000. If you've never texted the show before, you need to text the keyword Miller. And I think that is a fascinating take on New Orleans because plus 280 now, yeah, you're getting odds. But if you wait until they get off to their bad start and head into their bye week, you can get better odds. That's an interesting play because that takes guts to take a team to win the division when they're 2-5. Wednesday edition, Miller and Moulton. We're going to talk some Texas Longhorns next hour as Geoff Ketchum from orangebloods.com will join us at the middle spot in the hour. We don't normally do guests in the short segment, but sometimes we have to do what the guest will allow us to do. That's when he was free, so that's when he will talk to him. Both Bud Elliott and David Bearman liking the under in the TCU North Carolina game. So maybe that's the first one you jump on. 2 prognosticators take it. I'll listen to smart people. I jumped on it during that segment. We'll see if it pays out on Saturday. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
Buying or selling a home? Put a local expert to work for you. I'm Mark Miller with McWilliams Buckley, and I believe real estate is about more than transactions. It's about helping people make the right move, from pricing your home to negotiating the best deal. I'll be with you every step of the way. Call or text me today, 239-425-5582. That's 239-425-5582. Experience, local knowledge, and a personal difference. That's what I'll bring to the table.
The Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller and Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X, or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller and Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest. Now try the best. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Hey, you do you, Adam. I have no worries. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing, my man. Don't you worry about it.
to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, the Pro Hour. We will talk some Texas Longhorns coming up here in a moment. Thanks so much for joining us. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Follow us on X, Miller_Moulton. And we will get you the information about the show and maybe some other things. Maybe there's a day I start posting more regularly. But there is a smaller story that's been out there. And it's one of the things in today's world that I don't know how this stuff still happens. Like, whatever you may think, and you may think we've gotten too woke with this and whatever the case may be. But there's a company out there called Good Golf, and they're partnered with Callaway. And this story's been out for a couple of days, and I've mostly neglected it because it's not a huge story, but it's ridiculous. So Good Golf, they're a huge YouTube golf content provider, and they are sponsoring a tournament coming up in Austin. They ran an ad, and it was two of their employees. It was one male and one female. And the ad has the woman going to a bag of clubs, the golf bag, and she starts to grab the driver. And the guy runs over, knocks her to the ground, stands over her, and says, "Don't touch my driver." Now, my question is, how many people saw that advertisement and signed off on it? Because now Callaway's taken a ton of grief. Good Golf, rightly so, has taken a ton of grief. The PGA Tour has taken grief for partnering with this group. I don't care if it's 20 testosterone-filled men in the room. One guy doesn't raise his hand and go,
Yeah.
why don't we have him knock over a guy?
That's what I was just going to say, is how does someone not raise their hand and be like, hey, the concept for this whole marketing campaign is completely wrong.
So Good Golf is in some deep water for that one. Again, it's, is it the end of the world? No. But here is a tour that has a lot. They actually they're doing well. I mean, they've crushed Live. They're trying to start this 2-tier system. I love what they're doing with the Tour Championship in 2028. And I mean, they even have, LeBron's fallen in love with golf. He's even sponsoring a PGA Tour event that's going to be back in Akron at Firestone. It's a 2-day tournament that's coming in July, and it's going to promote youth, and they're going to do a lot of good things. And look, at LeBron's into golf, and he wants to help out with the tournament. That's a good thing for golf, whether you like the guy or not. That's bringing more eyeballs, younger people, and things like that. But this, the golf world, Bryson DeChambeau, love him or hate him, has become more popular because of YouTube. The YouTube golf world is completely 100%, 180%, 180 degrees opposite of what the PGA Tour is. They're into content. They're into fun. They're into things that are not golf. And so I get where a company like Good Golf breaks out and becomes a new thing and people are into it. But at what point in today's society do you actually think that an ad shoving a woman to the ground and standing over her is going to fly? And it's not going to get you and your partners. You're trying to jump into the PGA world. You're trying to take a huge YouTube golf product and now get it to get the regular golf fan to be a part of what you're doing. It's just it's tone deaf is what it is. And we got a texter. It's a little weird, but what's the real issue? I don't know. A man in a commercial shoving a woman to the ground and standing over her. I don't know. I find that to be an issue today. I think there's a lot of stuff that we're making issues about that are non-issues. This one, actually, violence towards women as your advertising campaign, seems like a bad idea in 2026.
Yeah, I mean,
like a non-starter.
What are we doing? You're exactly right. Violence towards women, what are we doing? You guys don't have anything better to come up with? You guys sitting in the boardroom with your suits and ties, you got nothing better to come up with to advertise golf or football or whatever it is without, minimizing women? Come on.
So I thought that, and they're getting grief on it again. And look at what happened. The reason this comes into light is that they're sponsoring a tour event and they're partnered with Callaway. And that's where the Callaway folks are getting a lot of heat on this. It's just something that's been in the news the last couple of days. And is it going to kill this brand? Probably not. But they've already put their apologies out there. I just wonder how it happens in the first place. So wanted to bring that up. Tour Championship gets started tomorrow. One more year of this, and then we got the split tiered system in golf. We'll see how that works out. But I do like what they're doing. I mentioned it yesterday. It was news that the Tour Championship is switching to a match play format for the final two events. And I do think that to me adds a little bit more. But I did fail the show today. And I don't know. I think we've done this poll question before. And I get upset with myself that we don't get poll questions up, one. But two, I mentioned it was National Dog Day. So I pulled away from, a dog question because that's really too easy. But what it also is today, and I think Adam in our chat room should know this because he works in the paper world. Today is National Toilet Paper Day. And I did not realize that toilet paper had its own day. And I actually think of all days out there of a substance, of a creation, of a product that needs a day. I could do a whole show on toilet paper. Those of you that travel know just how rough it is in a hotel room. Is there a hotel out there that gives you a good TP? God forbid you got to go to a public restroom. You could be there for 6 or 7 days. But the real simple question is fold or crumple. And that's, are you someone who crumples and wastes a lot of toilet paper, or are you neat, a little OCD and fold your 4 to 6 to 10 sheets that you use when taking care of your tuchus? So here's the toilet paper today. It is the one area that we will always spend more in this house than what I think. I go for premium toilet paper no matter what happens in my life. If things turn terribly worse and money becomes a problem in the Miller household, we're still getting the quilted northern sheets. I'm not going cheaper than that. My butt deserves better, and I think yours does too. Trent's probably, my guess is he's an Angel Soft guy. Not a bad toilet paper, pretty good for your money. I'm guessing Trent right there when he looks at the 4-pack and one of them's $4.50 and the other one's $2.99. He's like, yeah, I think I need to save this $1.50 right now.
What's the best bargain? That's the question when I'm talking about toilet paper. As a 27-year-old or 26, soon to be 27-year-old.
So, as Deadstroke says, crumplers have psychological problems. I think that is I don't think that that's a wrong statement by any stretch of the imagination. So, it is I know it's a personal preference thing. And then I think the last thing is someone asked, are you someone who, when you put the toilet paper roll in, do we roll over the top or do we come from underneath? And see, as someone who's a cat person, most of you, the over the top, the cats get in there and start, tearing the toilet paper. We've been lucky. The cats have full reign at this house. They stay away from the toilet paper. We've not had that problem. But I do know if you're an over the top guy, the cat can come and wreak havoc on your roll of toilet paper. National Toilet Paper Day, kids. As JB says, life is too short for cheap toilet paper and cheaper beer. And those two kind of go together. If you're, think about it. If you're younger, you were drinking Busch beer, maybe you even went down to the Meisterbrow. I'm old enough to remember Goebbels, or as we like to call it, Jobels in Michigan, that fine French beer, even though it wasn't French. I've had my share of black labels. But, you got to be careful because if you're mixing the bad beer with bad toilet paper, at the end of the day, you might not be saving money. It might be costing you more. because you're using far more than you need to. So there's a little public service announcement for Miller and Moulton as we get ready for the start of football season, when beers on Saturdays and Sundays will taste better because you'll be watching live football. North Carolina, TCU, Saturday, the early game, Virginia, NC State. And then we get our first look at USC. They've got a game that they should blow out their opponent, but it is a team that probably in the Big Ten, I don't know if I would think they have the most pressure on them, maybe Oregon, because Ohio State has pressure every year. I mean, when you're talking about that team, that fan base, there's a built-in pressure. They are supposed to be in the playoff every year.
There should be.
Indiana, house money. Oregon, I do think there's some pressure there because Dan Lanning's quickly getting on that list of what's the big game you've won. You know, Mario had that for a while, obviously, when he was at Oregon and then at Miami. Well, now he's won big games. He played for a Natty. I know they lost. But Lanning's kind of that next guy of when are you going to win the big game? Because they've come up short in spots. And don't tell me beating Penn State was the big win, because it turned out we saw what happened to Penn State. So Oregon's a team, you know, and Oregon and USC, the two newcomers to the Big Ten, I think have equal amounts of pressure on them heading into this season. USC's got to finally return to the level of a playoff team. But Oregon, they are a team that believes they can win the national title. Their roster says they can. Their quarterback says they can. Lanning does an amazing job recruiting at the line of scrimmage. So they're one of those teams that has the money to do the NIL and has also recruited in the trenches to build up depth, of which is lacking on so many teams. So I think that, you know, pressure in the Big Ten, I think Oregon and USC have the most. Ohio State's is just simply built in. Indiana's playing with house money. You got Campbell, the new coach at Penn State. I don't think that they have a tremendous amount of pressure on them. I don't think Whittingham at Michigan has a tremendous amount of pressure in year one. It will build quickly, particularly if Underwood doesn't take the next step at Michigan. But I think USC and Oregon is where the pressure lies for teams in the Big Ten. And we get our first look, although it's a cupcake game for the Trojans, they get started on Saturday. San Jose State, I think 34 is the number in that one. When we come back, we will talk about one of the teams with maybe the most pressure on them, the Texas Longhorns. Arch Manning, Sarkisian, they're supposed to win it all too. Will they? Geoff, we'll talk Texas next.
The Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Oh, 38.5 in that game? I thought it was 34.5. Thanks, Spitz.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Something fired a little quickly, but we'll get after it anyhow. Thanks for listening. Good show for you tomorrow. Dave Waters to talk some Gators, Brooks Austin to talk some dogs and some other national football items. And we'll fit a few more in there. Might even do a little Kansas City Chiefs tomorrow as well. But happy to be joined right now by Geoff Ketchum. He is the owner and publisher of orangebloods.com. If you like the Longhorns, it is your place to go for all things Texas. You can follow Geoff on X at GKKetch, GKKETCH. Geoff, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, fellas. Good to be with you. It's that we're almost single-digit days away from the start of the season, and there's a lot of excitement in the Austin area for sure.
Well, there should be no doubt because it's a team that it is obviously, I think it's the team maybe with the most pressure on them in the country. I've been saying that for a while. When you look at the Longhorns and you look at Arch had a great second half last year. No one seems to pay any attention to that. Sark has not gotten them to where they want to be. Why is this year, in your estimation, Geoff, going to be different for Texas?
I mean, I don't know that it will be. This is a team and a program that are looking to take the last steps, and the last steps are the hardest steps. It's much harder to be the champion than it is to aspire to be the champion. And they've been to a couple of national semifinals under Sarkisian. It's an insanely talented team, easily the most talented team I think that Sarkisian has had while he's at Texas. Not only do they have probably the best and most high-end collection of upper-class talents of any place in the country. I mean, Texas has a legitimate top 15 pick at quarterback, left tackle, edge, and wide receiver. They're checking boxes on all of the pieces of talent that if you can be great at, you need to be great here. They are. They've got NFL players all over the field. Now they got to put it together against an unbelievably difficult schedule. I have said that I think it's the most difficult SEC schedule in the history of the conference. I don't know that I'm the person that gets to make that statement. I haven't been around long enough, but they've never done a 9-game schedule before. This is year one. Texas has the most difficult of the 9-game schedules, plus they play Ohio State. That's the thing. Texas fans are trying to figure out if they get into the playoffs, Texas fans feel like they can be Ohio State in 2024. They'll just be the most talented team. They'll have placed a bear of a schedule. Who would want to face them? The question is, they play 7 of the top 10 teams in the SEC this year based on preseason prognostications, the way the SEC poll came out, and Ohio State. Of 7 of the top 10, they are one of the top 7 or one of the top 10. So they're playing 7 of the projected top 9 teams in the SEC plus Ohio State. And it really will be about survival for Texas as much as anything else, not letting road trips in Knoxville and Columbia and College Station and Baton Rouge and a neutral site game against Oklahoma. Like, it's just a lot that they're going to have to be up for. And I don't know that there's like, this team could be significantly better than it was a year ago and end up with the same record and not make the playoffs for the second year in a row. And it would be a devastating situation for Sarkisian, because there's a real sense of, not that he's on the hot seat, but if he can't win with this group of players,
Right.
with this quarterback, when the hell is it going to happen? So I think everybody understands the stakes. It might not be dead man walking if he doesn't make the playoffs and have success, but apathy might kick in to a certain degree for a program that will feel like next year is definitely not the year. It's a rebuilding year. So if it's not now, we're talking about year 8 for Sarkisian, and, it's time to produce.
There's no doubt, and I think he has the most pressure on him as any coach and any program in the country going into the year. And you said it. It's, and you didn't even mention, I mean, there's a couple of home, I know, the Gators got him last year, so there's a revenge factor there, but it's the Gators at home. It's the road.
They get Ole Miss at home.
Right. They get Ole Miss at home. So, I mean, this is no picnic. The road games you already mentioned, Tennessee, Missouri, LSU, and A&M all on the road. I do think, by the way, though, Geoff, I think the difference between this year and last year, I only think there's maybe 4 or 5 teams in the country that I can say this about. And I think Texas is one. I actually think Oklahoma is another one. I think the right 9-3, they're a playoff team this year. I think that can happen, but we'll see, because we've always looked more at the win column than the who you play and the strength of schedule column. But Sark started some of that last year with his comments, and I actually hope that if it works out, I'd rather see a 9-3 Texas in than a 10-2 Penn State based on their schedule, because I want to see more Texas and Ohio State. All right. Arch Manning last year got off to a rough start, and everybody wrote him off that he's no good. He can't play. Well, if you look at the second half of the season, yeah, he can. And as you mentioned, they got a running back who's terrific, and they've got a receiver who, everybody's seen the one-hand catch from practice that Cam Coleman made, and Smothers is a terrific tailback. So they do have it at all ends. Let me ask you, how good's the line for Arch? Because in that Ohio State game, Ohio State's down a bunch of defensive players, but we know Patricia's really good, so he'll have something there. How good's the offensive line for the Longhorns?
It's the $10 million. I think, we have to adjust for inflation. It's the $10 million question about this program. On paper, this is a better offensive line than a year ago. On paper, they have a first-round draft pick at left tackle, a potential day 1, day 2 pick at right tackle. Brandon Baker is a junior, former 5-star prospect. There's a sense that he could be a day 2 guy if he comes out in the draft this year. And they got NFL dues, but they lost. Everybody feels like they lost the Florida game last year because there was an injury along the offensive line that Florida was able to take advantage of, and it just completely disrupted the Texas offense that night. That position, that left guard position, is one they've been committed to trying to make better, but they've had injuries in camp at Lawrence Seymour, who was about their 8th option in the portal to fill that void. They just kept offering guys tons of money, and guys kept turning them down. And while they got a number of elite-level transfer portal guys, that offensive line is a question mark. It is the thing we talk about the most. If the games were played on paper, this Texas offense will be really, really good, and this offensive line will be a strength. But the games aren't won on paper, as everybody knows, and this is the major question mark. And I think when they play Ohio State in a couple of weeks, that left side of that offensive line with Trevor Gooseby, who's injured right now and has a bone bruise and is questionable for that game, and Lawrence Seymour, who just returned to practice on Monday after being injured all of last week, those two guys have basically scrimmaged together for 11 snaps. Forget about playing in games. They have not yet had a full scrimmage together as the left side of that offensive line protecting Arch Manning. I don't know what to tell you. That guy, Lawrence Seymour, was a second-team All-American last year at Western Kentucky. But, I don't want to be that guy. I'm already SEC guy after a few years.
I understand.
Of covering SEC football. Where I'm like, that guy's 6'1". He can't play in the SEC. I don't care what's on his resume. And so we'll find out. But the thing is, they will have to do. The expectation will be against Ohio State that they have to do this thing on offense and play at a level. They will not have done that in camp. There's no way to simulate with the players that they want to play with. They've already missed their window. They will not have prep time together, and Texas is going to have to figure this thing out quickly in games. It'll be really difficult. It is not optimal. And it's one of those things where after the season's over, if they're 9-3, we'll look back and we'll say, you know what? It does help if your quarterback is healthy in the spring. It does help if your offensive line can practice together before a big game ever. Not like that week, ever. So, it's the most interesting team in college football for a million different reasons. The schedule, the quarterback, the pressure, all of it. But I don't know how to call it. I don't know how to predict what to expect this season because all of the dynamics that are in play for this team are so unique that, I can't say this team's going to win a national championship, although I think no one would want to play them in a playoff game. Team is like Ohio State in 2024. You don't want to mess around with this talent. It can beat you down on the right day, but there's enough uncertainty and enough lack of cohesion, at least on this day in August before the season starts. It's just hard to pinpoint what to truly expect.
He's Geoff Ketchum, owner, publisher of OrangeBloods.com, talking the Texas Longhorns. You heard it from the guy that does it every day. There's a wide variance of what could happen, but the pressure is very real. Geoff, thanks so much for giving us a few minutes this morning. Hopefully we can catch up maybe before that Buckeye game.
Anytime. Just give me a ring, fellas.
Geoff Ketchum here on Miller and Moulton. Well, there's a little college, a little pro, a little golf, a little bit of everything. We finish it up that way, too. Today was the day when, the good, the bad, and the ugly. What's on tap? Next.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And With a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Buying or selling? On that. Your root. Guys, thanks for all your patience as we work through whatever the next act of this thing is. But I hope my frustration hasn't been too apparent today. I will say it to you guys. I right now I don't know if this is going to work with this. I'm very worried. I don't think he's prepared. I don't think he listens, and I'm getting very frustrated. So I'm sharing with you stuff I probably shouldn't be sharing, but this has been an event, to say the very least. And then for whatever reason, when the show's not over, he tells me he has to leave, and I have no real idea why. So I don't know if he just quit today. I don't know if he'll be back tomorrow. I don't know what just happened. So I apologize, everybody. Oh, well, thank you. And I know you guys are. I certainly appreciate it. I just, I want the show to be as good as it can be, and I don't think we're there yet. Huh? Maybe it is, RGM. Maybe it is. But when you are talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC North and the answer comes back Jacksonville, don't think he's prepared, RGM, and it's very frustrating. He's got an opportunity for a really good thing here, and he, to me, isn't handling it the way that I would.
I don't know. I don't know what to do. Very frustrated.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Thank you all so much for joining us. Got a solid show lined up already for tomorrow. If you're a college football fan, this is good stuff tomorrow. We're going to talk with Dave Waters, who covers the Gators. We had him on last week for the first time. He's terrific. Good information. We'll even dial down more on the Gators. We're going to talk with Brooks Austin, who covers Georgia as well as college football on the whole. He's a film guy, gets really into the nooks and crannies. So we'll talk with him, and then we'll have some other stuff for you as well as we get ready for the first football weekend of the year. North Carolina, TCU. We're liking the under in that game. Virginia and NC State. I know a guy that helps me out on Tuesdays that loves Virginia in the over for the season. They better win this one if they're going to get the over. I think they will, but Virginia and NC State's an interesting game. And then you've got USC playing on the weekend. So that's a pretty good weekend. We've got NFL preseason. You know, like Pat said yesterday, this is a really weird preseason game because you don't want to play any of your starters, but you don't want to play anyone that you're going to cut because you don't want them to get hurt and be responsible for them. So it is a fascinating dynamic in the NFL with the third preseason game. In the meantime, we'll do some house cleaning.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
All right. Not a lot today. This is a very small day. I worked hard to try to find things, and I'm like, I'll be damned. There's not a lot of meat on the bone today. But we start in 1873 when the first free kindergarten in the United States was started. Susan Blow is responsible for kindergarten in the U.S. She did so in a suburb of St. Louis, Missouri. Today in 1920, the 19th Amendment is formally adopted into the U.S. Constitution, guaranteeing women the right to vote. Seems like we waited a little long on that one, right? I mean, 1920? Seriously? It just seems odd to me. The first Major League Baseball telecast was today in 1939. It was the Brooklyn Dodgers hosting the Cincinnati Reds. Today in 1959, the British Motor Corporation introduces the Morris Mini Minor. Yeah, the Mini. It is something. 10 feet long, seats 4. I remember when I went to London in college, how prevalent those were. And obviously the streets are different. They're smaller. There's not as much area to park, but just those minis were everywhere. Hey Jude, released by the Beatles today in 1968. If given the opportunity, I would suggest to you, even if you're a Beatles fan, and I'm not saying it's better, I'm just saying it's worth listening to. Wilson Pickett also did this song. He was encouraged to do it by one Dwayne Allman. They were recording at Muscle Shoals. And, well, the musicians, the studio musicians there, when they would go on lunch break, well, and Muscle shows to bring Wilson Pickett with you to lunch. Well, this was a problem in the late 60s. And as the Muscle Shows musicians tell it, the only thing that got them looks harsher than having lunch with the black guy was having lunch with a hippie. And Dwayne Allman was that. So typically when they would take lunch breaks and Wilson Pickett was recording, Dwayne Allman just stuck around and the two of them hung out. And Dwayne Allman is the one that convinced Wilson Pickett to do Hey Jude. It's a great, great version. And Dwayne Allman's playing guitar. It's It's pretty special. Bobby Orr today in 1971 signed a 5-year contract with the Boston Bruins worth $1 million, the first $1 million contract in NHL history. And it was a year ago today that our lives were forever changed because the power couple of the day announced their engagement. Yes, it was they weren't even engaged for a year, folks. Taylor and Travis let the world know that they were engaged today. Mother Teresa, Ben Bradley, Geraldine Ferraro would have all celebrated birthdays today. Tom Heinsohn for the Celtics, he's 92. How about that? Branford Marcellus, 66. He was the band leader on The Tonight Show, played with The Dead, was Sting's sax player when he went solo. Very accomplished musician. He's 66. Melissa McCarthy is 56. Macaulay Culkin, 46. David Price is 41. James Harden, 37. Ranger Suarez, 31. And Spencer Torkelson, 27. I wanted to include those last two because those are just names that you don't hear every day. There aren't a lot of Rangers out there, and there certainly aren't that many Torkelsons. So there you have it.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Well, for the good today, we're going to be doing this one on the fly, kids, because something happened with the computer program, and, well, what was supposed to be there isn't. But for the good today, we go to California, where skateboarding, it's a big deal everywhere. California more than anywhere else. But Judy Oyama has been skateboarding since she was 13. She was recently in a world championship competition at the age of 66, becoming the oldest competitive skateboarder in history. I'm impressed. I mean, for those of you that want to laugh and say whatever, I would dare you to try to skateboard. I just turned 57. I think if I tried to do it down a hill and jumped on with both feet, there's a really solid chance that I wouldn't make it down the end of the driveway. That's all. That's all I'm saying. For the bad, if we can get there. Well, we go to Panama City, where in front of the Panama City Beach souvenir shop, Jaws Souvenirs, Jaws and the shop destroyed by fire. Fortunately, no one was injured. The origin of the fire is not known at this time. They're going to try to rebuild. But at the end of the day, the Jaws, you don't see many sharks on fire. And you did in this case. Finally, the ugly. We go, where do we go, as a matter of fact? Wow. This is usually a little bit more in sync than it is today. But I've got to be honest with you. When you do this work ahead of time, and then for whatever reason, the file's not found, it puts you into a bit of a pickle, to say the very least. So we'll wing this. For the ugly, where should we go? Let's go to Virginia, where authorities had to be called out to find an escaped bison. Usually it's bears in the mountains. In this case, it was a bison. Apparently, it got away from where it was kept, and the bison was working through the neighborhood. Fortunately, no one in a Dolphins jersey tried to take him on and get kicked like that guy did in Yellowstone. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly, brought to you by the Cape Coral Police Department. CapeCops.com, jobs, money, overtime, lots of good things. You know where to get it all. CapeCops.com. All right. Today in baseball, getaway day for Tampa. They take on Detroit. I think this is a big one for both teams. The Tigers trying to make a last-ditch effort at that final wild card spot that I think they played their way out of a couple different times this year. But the Rays, this is a series to me. You need to win 2 or 3. And they've split the first 2. Peralta on the hill for Tampa today at 110. The Red Sox and Marlins tonight. Sonny Gray taking a 16-3 record to the mound for Boston. Reds and Giants this afternoon. Cubs and Diamondbacks. That's a big one for both. Guardians and Angels. Cleveland trying to keep on keeping on. They're playing much better lately. The Pirates in San Diego. Pittsburgh. Winners 1-0 yesterday. The Phillies have now dropped a couple. They got Luzardo on the mound against Wu for the Mariners. The Mariners down but not out in that division. Colorado and Washington in our nation's capital. The Astros and Yankees tonight. That's on Amazon Prime. Royals and Jays. Brewers and Mets. Dodgers and Braves. That's your MLB Network game. That was a really good game last night for the record. Rangers and White Sox. Orioles and Cardinals. And out west, the Twins are at the Athletics. We've talked a lot about the principles of college football today with the new rules made by both the Big Ten and the SEC that they are not going to allow athletes who signed contracts in the NFL to come play in their league. The SEC has gone so far as to say they're doing the same with players that if they sign with the WNBA or the NBA. This does lead us to, and it will be something we will talk about tomorrow, and I will try to get someone to join us who can maybe give me better answers than I have right now. Because conferences are failing college sports, but not their conferences. And this is really the first time in both the cases of the Big Ten and the SEC that they're making decisions that not only are for, I believe, the betterment of college football and in college basketball, but better for the sport at large. And since the NCAA now has zero authority on anything and loses in court every time, do the conferences now, are they the ones that have to establish the power? We know they don't like to work together. That's been painfully obvious. Obviously, if you're the ACC and the Big 12, you're afraid they're going to rip teams from you. If you're the Big 10 and the SEC, you fight for supremacy. But the fact that Petiti and Sankey's conferences yesterday both essentially agreed at different times to make the right move for the sport by not allowing players who signed NFL contracts. Is this where we're heading next? Are the conferences going to be the ones that are going to have to uphold the rules? You know, the SEC talked about it. Maybe we put in our own rules for a salary cap. This is a small step. There are much bigger problems than the 1-year, fifth-year player option because they didn't grandfather in the 2022 rookie class or freshman class, if you will. There are bigger issues, and obviously the money is the biggest one, and it doesn't seem that anybody wants to put boundaries in place that are for the betterment of their schools and the future of the sport while letting another conference have an advantage on them. But maybe in the last 24 hours, this small step made by both the Big Ten and the SEC can prove that the conferences may have the power to do what the NCAA has been unable to do. I hope that's the case. I don't think it ultimately will be. But the difference now, you know, go back to Sorsby and Texas Tech. That was gambling. It was a really easy issue. But it took the conference to tell Texas Tech to step down because they were doing everything that they could do to get this player to play for them. They found a judge. You know, LSU or these players, they found a judge. Well, it's going to be different if you're finding that judge to take on your own conference. What are the repercussions then? And will teams be less apt to attack their own conference to get the eligibility of a player. Do the conferences have to take the power that the NCAA failed to do by not paying these players a long time ago? And they kept fighting and kept thinking that we're going to win. And they kept appealing every time they lost and never won. I'm guessing there are lawyers out there that think that these conferences don't have the power. At the end of the day, if the conferences all adhere to what they just say they're going to do, that could work, I think. I think it's the last-ditch effort because by all indications are, even if the SCORE Act passes through the Senate, it's likely to not pass through the House. And then we have midterm elections, then you have new congressmen, new senators, and who knows what direction it goes in from there. So is the way to save college sports actually through the conferences? We shall see, but the Big Ten and the SEC made their step yesterday. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.
Buying or selling a home? Put a local expert to work for you. I'm Mark Miller with McWilliams Buckley, and I believe real estate is about more than transactions. It's about helping people make the right move, from pricing your home to negotiating the best deal. I'll be with you every step of the way. Call or text me today, 239-425-5582. That's 239-425-5582. Experience, local knowledge, and a personal difference. That's what I'll bring to the table. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to CapeCops.com. CapeCops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
The
sound.
Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real. If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller & Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X, or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller & Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest, now try the best. Miller & Moulton, MillerandMoulton.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Thanks, everybody. You know, I wanted to get your input on that. I appreciate all of you commenting back. I truly do. Your input means a ton. I know you guys are always positive all the time, so I appreciate you throwing any shots. If you have any more thoughts and want to email me, want to text the show, happy to hear all of them. Happy to hear all of them. And I know I've been pretty tough on him, but when you ask an A and B question and his immediate answer is to go to D, I get frustrated. I don't know if he's not listening. I don't know if he doesn't know what we're talking about, but I was frustrated today, and it showed, and I apologize for that. Thank you for all your loyalty. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.